All right, guys, we are live on YouTube. Episode 40th live stream. Who would have thought we would have made it this far? It's not like a significant milestone or anything, but it's cool that we've done 40, right? Like that's pretty cool.
It's nice. It's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Hello, everybody watching live and then tuning into for the VOD later. My name is Paul, and welcome to the Stormkeep. You guys want to introduce yourselves for people who haven't seen us before?
What's up, y'all? It's David.
Hey guys, it's Magog.
And David would be on camera as well, but unfortunately he's such a good dad that he has to take care of his kid while he's streaming. So he probably won't be popping his camera on for the stream, unfortunately. But good job being a good dad. All right, so let's do some housekeeping, because I always forget to do this stuff at the end of the video, and we're like, you know, we go late into the night, and then we're tired, and then forget about all this stuff. So I put it at the front this time around. So we'll get this all out of the way while we wait for people to tune in as well. So the first thing I want to mention is that the podcast is growing. We've added new members to the team. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and tell you everything we're working on, but we are trying to ramp up our production. We're trying to get more videos out quicker, different content as well. It won't just be, you know, competitive stuff. It'll be a variety of things. So again, without saying too much, because I don't want to promise things and then have to renege on them like I've done in the past. But we are growing. We've got new members, and I'm very excited about them. You guys will see them on the podcast soon. Maybe as soon as a week or two. We have a Painting Ruination Hero contest going on right now. If you want to join our Stormkeep Discord server, it's discord.gg/Stormkeep. You can go in there, post photos of your painted Ruination Hero, and have a chance to win fabulous prizes. And thank you to our sponsor, Mindtaker Minis in Vancouver, Washington, for sponsoring the show. They've been sponsoring us for a few months now, and it's been great working with them. Honestly, Robin and the whole team are just fantastic, and there's never any issues with prize support and everything. So I'm very happy with how this is working out. And the contests have been, like, the last few months have been phenomenal. Like, judging these things has been crazy. I can't believe how good the painters are in our server. And the proxies people are making too, like that one guy who made Stormstrike Paladors with chocobos. That was so cool. Love those. Okay, like and subscribe. You know, the YouTube stuff. That's all I got for that. Press the like button, I guess. I showed the Discord server, and I should mention that we have a Patreon account. If you want some buyer's remorse, feel free to jump on there and toss us some money, and I guarantee the best buyer's remorse on the internet for you. And okay. Yeah, that's it. Anything else before we start, guys? Nope. Okay.
Get into it.
Let's do it. Just to remind people who maybe are just getting back for Season 2, because the first season of 4th edition was pretty lame. I put together a slide here of major rule changes that are happening in this season. Short list. It doesn't seem like a lot, right? There's only, like, I don't know, less than a dozen points here, but it does feel like a pretty significant change up to the game. With the way terrain works, especially, obscuring is very good, very easy to block shooting for a lot of different units. All attack and defense don't feel like gimmies. You don't just use them every single turn. What else is pretty major? Battle tactics are a big change. The game feels a lot smoother. There's no more of this, like, start of the hero phase. What am I doing for my whole turn? I'm going to sit here and think for 10 or 15 minutes. It doesn't feel like that at all, which is great.
It's smoother and slower, I would say. Like, you don't have to like commit something immediately off the board turn one.
Yeah. Round one is like, there's almost no aggression anymore. Any aggression round one just gets punished very heavily, and there's no reason to move up. So you can just sit back, score minimum objectives, and you can actually play into, like, round 4 is becoming more and more relevant. It's becoming more relevant. Usually the game was like turns 1 and 2, and then sometimes turn 3 to wrap it up, right? Whereas now it feels like turn 1 is a setup turn, 2, 3, and 4 is where the game happens, and 5 is the wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my experience so far. And Places of Power totally redesigned. That goes into obscuring. We talked about all this in our previous live stream, so feel free to check out live stream number 39, where we talked about the General's Handbook. But just to give people a quick preview of that here. And let's get into the Battlescroll itself. So we'll talk about Stormcast changes first, since we are the Stormkeep. We are legally obligated to talk about Stormcast first and foremost. I put all there's not a lot of rule changes or anything. There's mostly point changes for us, and there is one very significant rule change that affects all armies. but I think Stormcast are one of the ones that's uniquely positioned to take advantage of it, so I'm going to put it here. But basically, the player with more regiments, rather than getting a second Honor Guard like we did last season, Honor Guard just doesn't exist anymore, it's gone. What you get instead is if your list has more regiments than the opponent, you can re-roll priority once per battle. And it is a reaction to the roll itself. So you can see what you roll and then decide if you want to re-roll priority or not. And we crunched the numbers on this, and if you win ties, your odds of winning a priority roll increase from 58% to 75% if you hold on to the reroll for that. Like, your opponent will know, oh, I'm going into a new round. My opponent has a 75% chance to win this dice roll. That's pretty crazy. Like, if I'm at the bottom of a round and my opponent has a reroll, my whole turn looks very different because there's no chance. Like, I'm not relying on a double turn at all. I just can't.
It's not just that, but I feel like in what few games I have played, early doubles get punished so much. Not in terms of like scoring potential. Like, if you can survive an opponent's early double, like they can get really, really punished for it. Because I'm pretty sure like you can't still score battle tactics if you double, right?
Yes, that's right. You have to be 11 points or more ahead to score tactic, or the other player has to be 11 points ahead.
Yeah, that's a crippling turn oftentimes now. Because battle tactics, like, there's a chance, like, because previously what would happen is you would double them, and that was guaranteed auto battle tactics for you, basically. But now if you double them, even if I could create a scenario where I wipe out my opponent's army, if I relied on something like intercept and recover or something, or like Garanite treasures, I'm not going to score any of that.
Well, intercept you would, because wiping the army and then over 3 turns you would score it,
Yeah, sorry, the Garanite treasure one, whatever that is.
Yeah, intercept and recover.
Is that... Okay, yeah.
Because they just have to be destroyed at any point in the battle. Not in that turn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so whatever. I guess stuff like kill a hero this turn. That would...
Well, I think the bigger thing that discourages, especially the early double turn, is what we just talked about, is how the game feels slower. Like, that round 1 is a setup turn. There's no reason to put units into the middle of the board. You don't have to score seize the center round 1. You don't have to score take the flanks round 1 or take their land. Like, you don't have to move your units up. And when you don't move your units up, there's not really anything to charge in that first turn. And normally what would happen is they would charge you that turn into that bridge unit that you've set up, and then they'd use that to springboard themselves into the rest of your army in the following turn. But if they don't have that bridge in turn 1, then the 1-2 double really doesn't do much. You've basically given yourself a turn of combat against your opponent. And then they have to, and you've reduced your scoring because you're not scoring battle tactics that turn, and you're putting yourself in a position where you can get doubled. And when you get the 2-3 double against you, you will die because you've put your army in range of their army, right? So the 1-2 double is weak, and it exposes you to a very powerful enemy double turn.
That's been my experience as well. Like, I almost feel like there's like no reason to double going into 2, because I feel like before this GHB, right? Like, I feel like shooting was the most powerful way to double somebody, right? Like, minimal risk for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's like, well, I'll just sit in cover, and if you take this double, well, you still can't shoot me, so you just really wasted another turn.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was the point. They wanted games to stop being done in 2 turns. I think they were just sick of that.
Not just shooting, but Magic too.
2-2-2. Yeah.
Yeah, the 2-2-2 meta is dead, right? Where people aren't going to run triple bricks anymore. That's just not happening.
Yeah. No, yeah, but like you said, Magic too, because endless spells had guaranteed charges into you if you got a double.
Mm-hmm.
If they got a double against you, if they deployed, like, let's say, Pendulum, or sorry, like Purple Sun, Gravetide, or whatever else, they would guaranteed get to move up and go into you.
Yeah, now you have a chance to banish them at least, right, with Magical Intervention, which is very cool. So lots of really subtle changes have happened to a point where I feel a lot better about the double turn as a mechanic than I did in the last season. I was really down on the double turn last season because it felt like you had to move up for battle tactics, and then that means if your opponent gets a double, it's going to be devastating. So I feel better about that. And this, so how do you guys feel about this more regiment thing? Would you build for more regiments to get this, or are you going to try to stay low drops, or do you just not care about drops at all and just whatever happens? If I have less, that's cool. If I have more, that's cool.
More drops all day. I mean, if you look at how we played at Brewski, or at least how I played at Brewski, immediately when I knew my opponent had less drops than me, because I was a 3-drop list, most of my opponents were 2. I would start deploying individual units in deployment.
Yeah, totally.
I'd rather have the information, and so, like, because I'm very well suited to take a double. I have reserves, I have a lot of mobility, I have translocation, and this just And you're telling me now I can like their double isn't even like favored. I can like actively stack the odds against them,
Yeah,
and it's like not good.
They have a 1 in
tactically for
4
them.
chance to double you instead of basically a coin flip.
Yeah,
So good.
and it's great. It's great. Yeah, more drops all day.
I think the meta might shift to going first is better. And top of 1 because you can score so easily. The advantage of going second is going to be controlling underdog. Really, is because if you can delay your tactic,
yeah,
then you can.
A lot of the battle plans have really powerful underdog bonuses. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, even missing out on the the score more is usually worth 2 VP. That's really easy to make up and at any point during the game. So the player going second can control underdog, but the player going first preserves all of their resources and doesn't expose themselves at all. So it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
That's actually wild. It's switched like that because 40K has had this whole thing of like where going second is like some people they don't have a choice because they just roll off and then they go, but people really want to go second.
Yeah, I think that's like my issue because I played 40K for so long before I got to AOS that I'm so ingrained to like wanting to go second. I'd say the biggest thing for me is like you guys like know like last season if you were building 2-drops or you were like sweating against another 2-drop, right? Because you both wanted the bottom because you both really
I hate that dice roll. It's the worst.
Yeah, so I think like for me, at least in my game set, the few games I played is I'm not sweating as much. I'm like if I play against another 2-drop, I'm like, okay, well if I lose this and I have to go first, I feel better. I feel like I'm not gonna get doubled really hard. Where like like I said last season, I felt like you almost felt like against some lists like you had to win that bottom turn against another 2-drop.
If we get to a point where the 2-drop they're just doing more and more stuff to make double turns less frequent in competitive play, right? This doesn't really change much for casual play. I don't think people are going to pay that much attention to it. But for competitive play, this is like we're kind of going to shift into an I go, you go as the default, and the double turn is going to be like this thing you have to consider, but probably won't come up that often because if you're playing around it properly, it's so unlikely that nobody's going to like take those Hail Mary plays. Because oftentimes you could force your opponent into a situation where they're like, well, okay, my only way out of this, I think, like the what I'm going to default to is moving everything so aggressively and then banking on the double, right? And that's like, I think that's not going to happen as often because you have a 1 in 4 chance against a reroll with a tie.
Yeah.
So how about you, David? More drops, less drops? Because I know you've been playing basically your list from the previous season, which has, I think, 2 drops, maybe 3?
Yeah, it's still 2 drops. I still like 2 drops. Against other aggressive lists, I actually really like getting the bottom turn. Like I see a lot of Lumineth lists are 2 drops now. Seraphon looks like about 2 drops with those Lancer builds. So I don't mind going. I don't mind having less drops because I still rather have the bottom turn. But like last season, I'm not banking super hard on that double, right? Like I'm not setting myself up more aggressively to get a double. If it happens, it happens. But I'm more inclined now to just give it away. Like I'd rather just be more defensive and more like with my Paladors and stuff and be a little more skittish.
Yeah, but that's what I like about having more drops. Like, is if you're ever forced in a situation where you're going first, you have that control over the reroll, and your opponent knows that, and they just will not position to ever take advantage of a double turn unless it's like, I don't know. It has to be too late in the game for you to start thinking about a 1 in 4 chance to win. Like it's like trying to roll a 6 on a single dice. Almost, it's that bad.
Yeah, no, that's it. It was a good change. I just still like having just the bottom of the turn. I just always just like playing that way. But I have leaned way more into more like hit and run tactics and going more wide with my units, like with Paladors and Long Strikes. Like I'm not as aggressive as I was last season, and that may be just because I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to get this double if somebody has a higher drop than me. So like I'm not going to be as aggressive with my units. I'm just going to take what I can take.
Yeah, I suppose that can work if you have a super fast army like Vanguard Paladors. If you're playing slower stuff, I think it's a bit different. But you like speed, so
yeah, I love speed.
Let's take a look at some chat here. Jungle Camper says Andraste is too much. Yeah, totally. Unfortunately, we hit the quota of how many units could be buffed in a single battle scroll, and Andraste just didn't make the cut. So maybe next battle scroll, it'll be her turn to get a little bit cheaper.
They do this on every other Battlefield, if you've noticed.
Yeah.
Like all the primes, like Bastion, Solicit Prime, they drop on like these alternating Battlescroll. So my guess is September is when she'll be allowed to drop a little.
It's kind of good. You don't want too much change all at once. Like if ever, like look at Kruleboyz. Kruleboyz are basically a different army compared to last season.
Yeah.
So too much changes.
Any points to paying 20 points for a Storm Portal? It's no longer free real estate. Yeah, it totally is. Actually, no, I would say it depends on your list. If we just released a video recently on recycling, I think that very much would like the Stormreach Portal.
Yeah, you need a really, really good reason not to bring the portal. Like you're running all monsters and you just can't use it. Yeah. It's so good. I think it might be we're putting out a re-review of the Battle Tome soon because we said we would back when there was like Legends units. We were like, well, we'll re-examine this whole thing. We'll basically just do it again from scratch. So that's what we're working on now internally. And I think the only unit we have ranked S tier is the Stormreach Portal because for 20 points you get to translocate every single turn for free. That's guaranteed. Nothing beats that. That's the best value unit in the book. So those 20 points will go very far. That's every list. I think Stormcast lists start at 1980 now. Probably 1960 because you want Forbidden Power too. Tabletop Laboratory says Storm Drakes are good now. Yes, they are very good.
Very good.
They are, I would say, as good as Javelin Paladors. Because the thing that makes Javelin Paladors so good is that it's super high threat range combined with the ability to go to a safe spot afterwards with power through. Well, now with this cool recycling technique that I talked about on the podcast, Storm Drakes basically do that. They might not move 20 inches, but they'll move 12 inches and then charge 2d6 and then rampage another 2d6. So Storm Drakes can get in very deep into enemy lines in a way that Paladors can't because they're not flying and they don't have that rampage. And then you can also save them with the beacon on a guaranteed translocate to get them out and preserve them for another turn, which is very cool. Storm Drakes look phenomenal this season. Pain in the butt to move around the table. I hate moving them around the table with the wings and the lances and the tails just catching everything on the table. It's awful. So use some blank bases to proxy them or something.
I mean, I have the Magnet Baron thing, so I just detach them, put them to the side if it comes up. But yeah.
Such a good idea. Oh, hey, Corpse. Thanks for joining.
Hey.
I gotta fix the stream thing now. Okay, hold on. Here we go.
All right, let's get on to some points changes.
Hold on. One more comment, because we're on the topic of Storm Drakes. Fish asked, aren't they inefficient? Yes, they are inefficient. However, the reason they're inefficient is because they would charge and kill something, and then they would get charged and killed. So you're usually trading a 600-point unit for a 400-point enemy unit, and then a 400-point enemy unit would come in and kill you. Right? Like this happens all the time if you're playing, especially against slaves. You would kill the Chosen, and then the Varangard would kill you. And that when you only kill 400 points worth of stuff and you don't have the ability to get more value out of them later in the game, Storm Drakes, their inefficiency really matters. But what if you could charge something, kill an important unit, and then teleport back to safety and do it all over again the next turn? Not only does that suddenly double the efficiency of the unit, but it's also, Storm Drakes do so much damage that when they get 2 turns of charging and fighting important targets, there shouldn't be anything left on the table that will threaten them. You'll kill everything that's important that could possibly threaten them. It's stupid good.
Yeah, their main problem has always been you commit them and you are committing, and effectively, like whatever you're killing with them is less expensive than them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, unlike some of our other cavalry and infantry units, they can never be recycled with Heaven Sent, but we have translocation to recycle them with Beacon of Azir.
Yep. That's great.
And for more information, please watch our recycling video. We just released it a week ago or something.
Yep.
Yeah, I also like that you can kind of gamble now on their rampage that lets them like jump even further into enemy line, because there were literally times where you'd roll that 2d6 and you get like a 3, or you'll roll it and you get like a 12, and that really lets you jump like really deep into enemy line. But you're not going to get that all the time. So this way with the recycle, maybe one out of those 2 times you are going to get it, and you're going to get them into like a deep hero and really cause some damage.
Yeah. There's also a really cool trick Storm Drakes do that I'm going to demonstrate with super tactically here. So
no, let's make a gladiatorial video about it. Let's not do it right now.
Okay,
let's
fine.
do that there. Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Use Storm Drakes.
Sure, that's a good idea. That's a good quick one we can do. All right.
Yeah.
Because that'll make more sense than my weird hockey puck analogy that I was about to make.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk point changes. So I've sorted these into 4 categories, I guess 3 categories and then nerfs. But I have good changes, stuff that's actually going to make a difference. Your lists are like, it changes the viability of these units. Maybe the seasonal changes contributed to that as well. Maybe some other units changing also at the same time makes these units better. Then we have the not enough category, which is either it's not enough to make the character viable, or the character is going to be viable whether it's 10 points cheaper or not. Like, that 10 points doesn't really make a difference. And then the never enough, which I personally feel no matter what price point these heroes are going to be at, they're just not going to be playable. They need a rewrite, or they need to get so cheap that their function has fundamentally changed and it becomes just about spamming them or doing something completely silly. So start with the good changes, right? My favorite one on here easily is Tempesters. I think Rob was right. I'm gonna put that, and you guys can clip that. Rob was right. He said Tempesters look good, and I was like, last season was so bad for them, and every season before that was so bad for them. Like, every battle scroll in the first season was so bad, and now we have this obscuring. So how does a 10-inch movement, 10-inch shooting unit possibly get good? And turns out they're just the right price now. At 170, they are just the right price to fit into lists that they didn't fit into before. And at the same time, Storm Drakes are looking better, and Thunderhead Host is going to be probably our best sub-faction, and they can activate it. That's the one I'm most excited about. And obviously the Judicator being 130 points is great. It's a viable alternative to long strikes. I don't like running long strikes. I think I've had enough years of playing.
They've been pointed out. They've been sort of pointed into this, like, they were pointed really, like, I would say a little too low at 160 or 170 when they started. But
yeah.
I feel like 190, 180 would have been fair. They're at that point where, like, you're just paying too much for way too much fragility on them.
For internal balance reasons, 200 is an okay price point for them. Right?
Yeah.
But they're just so fragile, and I hate playing with that weakness. Like, they don't have guarded hero like a Night Judicator has. They do have the higher damage, like they do 14 max instead of 9 max, but you can bring multiple Judicators at a price point that you couldn't bring multiple long strikes. Right? 260 fits in a list better than 200 does. That extra 60 points goes a long way. And point for point, they're basically the same unit. It's just easier to slot a Judicator in, especially if you're going for more drops, like you and I are going for Magonk. Judicators fill out regiments. It's fantastic. You don't have to bring weird support heroes that don't do anything, basically. You can bring a real hammer unit, and it also gives you more drops, which is fantastic.
The important thing for me was, like, there's a lot of incidental damage in the game, like things that just reach out 18 inches and do D3 more wounds. Like, Nurgle has a prayer, like, I don't know, prayers and spells and all kinds of stuff does that. Long strikes are extremely vulnerable to that, because you lose 5 wounds in a long strike unit or 4 wounds in a long strike unit. That's more than half your output gone. A Judicator can lose 5 wounds and just keep kicking like nothing happened.
Yeah, and you never feel like you need to heal a Judicator. Whereas every time long strikes take damage, it's like, oh, I gotta rally, I gotta save command points for that rally. Judicator's like, okay, whatever. I'm still doing the same thing. I don't care. Yeah, and it's so those are the two I'm most excited about. Aquila going down 10 points. I put that in the good change, but honestly, does it really matter? Like, I guess, like, he has to be the cheapest Vanguard hero, so that's a good change.
Right.
The other cheapest hero that can take Vanguard is Tornus now, which I put in the good change as well, but...
Tornus and Vandus, right?
Vandus cannot take Vanguard.
Oh, Extremis and Warrior.
Yeah. Tornus is a weird one.
Tornus will be seen a lot more now, because he can take everything. It's kind of like, 170 points, sure. But, like, no one will be using his abilities, other than for himself.
His abilities are so bad. Like, even if you run Reclusians and Prosecutors, it's still not a good War Scroll, right? Tornus is just not good.
If you hit the 3-up every time, it's fine. Like, what's it? Y'all remember Dylan?
Yeah.
He runs Tornus next to his Reclusians. And he hits the 3-up 4 out of 5 rounds. So his Reclusians are always -1 to hit. And if not that, he, like, forms this little castle with Iriden, Reclusians, and himself. Either he'll heal D3 if you're not in combat with him, and if you are in combat with him, he'll give you a -1 to hit. But again, this is contingent on you consistently rolling that 3-up.
Yeah.
And he gets the rally bonus on himself as well, right?
Yeah, right. any Ruination unit.
He's a Ruination unit.
So even just bringing him on his own, even if you're not bringing Ruination, and you just want that unlocked for the regiment, I think that's an option.
He's okay. Yeah. I'm not saying he's bad. He's fine. He's B2.
I think he's C. I think so, because if you don't take advantage of his rally bonus or the -1 hit, he is just a blank War Scroll. And unlike Estrella, who was basically a blank War Scroll in a lot of cases, she was at least a wizard, right? Like, that's a good keyword to have. Tornus is not a wizard or a priest, so all he has is his War Scroll abilities and his damage. His damage isn't good, and his War Scroll abilities, like I said, if you're not getting value out of them, if you don't actually bring the Ruination units to heal with the rally, then he's bad. So he would fit into like a Ruination Vanguard kind of list, and I think that's about it. I can't see any other use for him.
Yeah.
Because if you're running, the good thing about Vanguard with Ruination is Vanguard doesn't need a sub-faction to get any value. The Vanguard wing is nice, but it's not necessary by any means. Like, Vanguard are so fast, the Vanguard wing is kind of a bonus. Whereas Ruination needs the 5-up ward. If you're bringing Reclusians without the 5-up ward, you should just bring Shield Annihilators instead. So that's a good one. Lord Solicitor on Dracoth, I've been saying for months now, was like 30 to 40 points overcosted. 160 is much better, makes the Concussor package a little bit cheaper, which is nice. Same with the Lord Celestin on foot. 130 was way too expensive for a hero that only had the Fight With Me ability, so that's a lot better at 110. Vandus going down 20 actually does matter, because we made a Vandus list somehow. I don't really think it's a Vandus list. I think it's a Stormdrake list that Vandus just happens to be one of the cheaper heroes to bring Stormdrakes, and it works nicely because he also has a hit bonus that he can give to like Questers and Annihilators and Stormstrike Paladors and stuff like that. So it works out. Vandus actually does end up being useful. And Stormdrakes going down 10 is nice too. It's with the beacon, I don't think they need it to go down 10. But once the beacon rotates out...
I don't think... I want them 300. 300.
Yeah. I think they're there now. I think another 10 would be amazing. I think with the recycling, they're really viable. I played my last tournament of the last GHB with 4, and they did really, really well. They're a solid unit. Like, I think people have been a little bit just afraid to play them, and not just not playing them much. But they do so much damage. They do so much, and the only time, I ever lost them was like, you get into this sustained combat situation and you've killed their hammer, and then they come in and kill enough of you that you only maybe have 1 left or 2 left, and then it's pretty much done. But being able to recycle that amount of points is gonna be huge for sure. Their reach is crazy sometimes, depending how you roll, and having the 2 chances at strike first. I'm really stonks on these guys moving forward.
I'm just taking notes to do videos about Stormdrakes, Tempestors, and I think the Night Judicator as well. We should do a spotlight video about that.
Yeah, I think the conversation is really going to be, like, I had a friend write me today, and he was like, my buddy Jean, he was like, yo, Night Judicator, man, that's hot, like, you run 3 of them for cheaper than long strikes, and I was like, yeah, man, we've been talking about this for, a week now, 2 weeks, whatever, and yeah.
I mean, I've had 3 since the Great Hunt days of early 2.0.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I get to bring that out, so I'm happy. But yeah,
we're doing
Plus,
it.
like, it's
cool
like also, exactly. Not just that, but I like it as like a way for newer players who are getting into Stormcast. We know for a fact they're going to retire the Vanguard Chamber, or the old cast version of Vanguard Chamber. And so asking newer players to say, hey, buy these models, but likely they're going to be retired in 2 years, doesn't feel good. So saying that, hey, you could buy 3 Night Judicators for now as a viable alternative is not from a consumer perspective.
And it gets you a unit of dogs right there.
Yeah, that's true. That is actually true. If you don't run any Night Judicators, you could run a unit of Grimheads.
Not only are Judicators a viable alternative, personally, I think they're better than Long Strikes. Just the way you split up your fire across 3 points instead of 2 points, the damage reduction as you take damage, like you keep your high damage, your full damage output as you take wounds. Guarded Hero is huge. Guarded Hero is a really big deal for a shooting hammer to have. Like a shooting hammer that can't be shot back, you can be sitting out in the open against Skaven just with Stormstrike Paladors near you or something, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. What's the Skaven player going to do? Well, the new melee versions of them. But, the old Skaven list that would try to shoot everything off. Yeah. They just can't touch your shooting, which is great.
I think it's interesting. I was building a list yesterday, and I was sort of looking at things, and I realized I wasn't taking Javelin Paladors in the list I was building at the time. And I was like, oh, well, actually, if I bring Long Strikes in this list, I get to run and shoot with them every turn. And I was like, that's kind of a benefit that, the Night Judicator.
Yeah, if that hadn't been have. Yes.
It was a very niche thing, right? I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I think
I'm definitely
exploring the
adjudicators.
Yeah, and then the only other issue about that, like, I tend to be someone who likes rolling a lot of dice. I hate shooting with 3 attacks. You know what I mean? I absolutely hate it. I know obviously you have 2 or 3 of them, so it'll be 9 attacks, but there's something about that low amount of dice that just kills me.
It swings both ways. Low dice spike high, and when the Judicator hits, he does like 6 or 9 damage usually when he spikes. Like 6 is the, I don't want to say average result, but it's like the most common result that 2 of his 3 attacks go through. It just seems to work out that way.
Well, think of it this way, right? One of the main advantages of long strikes was when you hit 6 with something, it was all lots more attacks, -2 rend, -3 if it's against like a hero monster or something. But you're putting all out defenses, and then regardless of whether you're shooting long strikes or Judicator, that happens. Multiple Judicators are a unit of 6 long strikes. Now, because of the changes to AOD, 3 Night Judicators when they shoot, only 1 maybe gets all out defense. The rest get to hit at full -2.
And if they're spending command points on all out defense and shooting, that's less command points for redeploys, less command points for counter charges, less command points for interventions, and defense in the combat phase, which we might just be disabling with Tempesters anyway, so we will see. Okay, in the not enough tier, I kind of just want to talk about these ones and why these point changes aren't enough to really make these units viable or not change their viability in any way. Gardas is still way too expensive. All he really does, he's 160 now. And Gardas, people forget that Gardas has a 5+ ward. It just requires charging, and charging Gardas means usually on your turn you have a 5-up ward, which is the worst time to have a 5-up ward, right? The time that matters is the whole enemy turn. That's the best time to have a 5-up ward. So on your turn, and he's a slow foot hero. Like if this was on a dragon and he could move 12 inches and then charge, so he was like a mobile 5-up ward, cool. On a 5-inch move foot hero, that ability is really tough to make work.
I don't know why they changed this, like, in the first place. Like, he's literally a support hero, right? It's not like he's...
No, it's because of the castles. It's because of the Stormdrake castles.
Sure. Nope, it's not that either. The
What
reason is, the Lord Celestant, since 1st edition, there has been a clear track for changing the Lord Celestant rules so that they are leading from the front line. Every edition has reduced the range of their abilities. If you remember in 2nd edition, he had a reroll hit 1 aura that was only for units within 9. And then in 3rd edition, I think they changed him so he buffed units that were like directly in combat. No, he got free all-out attack, right? So the idea was he had to issue the command within 12 inches or something. They've been pushing the Lord Celestant further and further into melee, and Gardas is a Lord Celestant. So they thought, well, he can't just sit back. It doesn't make sense narratively for a Lord Celestant to sit back and just give a passive aura. They want him in combat. But the condition of just being in combat is way too easy to fulfill defensively because you just sit him inside a unit of Stormdrakes and boom, those Stormdrakes now have a 5-up ward when they get attacked. So that's why the charge thing fits. He's also supposed to be charging into combat. That's the look of the model. You know, he's like crashing down. He's supposed to come in from reserve and charge the enemy. Unfortunately, they forgot that 9-inch charges suck, and this is not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
There's someone in that studio who loves that. They love the idea of 9-inch charges. Like, who is this?
If you're gonna fall in like a comet and like break the ground and be in the middle of combat, like let him strike into combat, or like let him strike in at least 6. You know, within 6, and then you've got all the rules work. You can do the charge.
You've unlocked Pandora's box, of course. They're gonna do that, but not with Archwell. Not until 5th edition.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, no, I'm serious. In 40k, there's a unit called the Sanguinor. He looks like this giant flying angel. He basically does that. He heroically intervenes into combat.
That would be amazing. That would actually work for his lore too. Like, I think that would be cool for Gardas. He's still gonna die quickly, but he's gonna give you, you know, some protection for 2 turns, let's say. And he's going to do a little bit of damage, and he'll give the +1 to attack and all those things. Like, it's kind of neat. But when you have to bring him in at 9 inches, you're relying on way too many things going your way. It's crazy.
I think there's 2 ways we could fix Gardas. The first one would be get rid of the charge restriction and just make it a 6-up ward aura, because we don't have any 6-up wards. We have Iridan, who has a 6-up ward, and I think that's about it. We don't have wards in Stormcast. So even a 6-up ward aura would just be good. That would give Gardas a cool niche. The other way to fix it would be to give him a free counter charge every turn. Or like the Ogre ability, you know, the new one that they added that lets you move an infantry unit, that basically counter charge for free. Give Gardas something like that and call it, you know, heroic intervention. And he's just like, oh, there's people fighting around me. Okay, I got to go in there, right? Like he can be this kind of superhero that they want him to be. Like his rules are trying to reflect that, but the game mechanics don't support it.
Just put him on dragon already, you cowards.
I don't think that rumor's true, man. Anything you hear on 4chan is just default false.
All right, let's move on to a Quester. Well, we already know, right?
Well,
we already know what's wrong with the Quester.
Well, there's the reason the Quester's not in the never enough tier now, because there is a niche for the Night Quester, and it's something we overlooked but becomes more relevant now this season, and that's that he can bring Ruination units. He's also able to use a Quicksilver Draft combo with Quester Soulsworn specifically, so there's something there, right? If he was cheap enough, he could be the cheapest hero that brings Ruination, which is not a terrible niche, because a lot of my lists are coming in 10 or 20 points over, and I want to bring Prosecutor, so I make that squeeze from Knight Relictor down to Lord Veritan. And I don't like that squeeze. I don't like that 10-point squeeze. So if the Quester was cheap enough, and he could just bring Prosecutors, that could be enough.
Is he Warrior and Ruination now?
0 to 1 Warrior, and any number of Ruination, which makes no sense.
What? 0 to 1.
Yep.
I wish he was Warrior Chamber and were like super cheap, because then you could kind of suicide him for like Stormstrike Paladors, if anything. Would have been my dream.
All I'm gonna say is the Mortisan Soul Reaper is a wizard with a -1 to wound aura in combat. He went down to 90 points this Battlescroll. There's no reason.
Oh my god, amazing.
Okay. Yeah. If that thing can be 90 points, and remember, Ossiarch have that whole thing where they pop a 5-up ward aura in combat every turn. I think he can beat 90 points, or 80 points even. The same goes for the Imperator, by the way. The Imperator could also be.
Yeah.
Speaking of.
Okay, well, we'll get there. Knight Draconis is 10 points cheaper, which doesn't really make a difference. I think the Knight Draconis needs to be significantly cheaper to make any difference in his viability, like 200 points instead of 230. 10 points, 240, that doesn't matter. You're not going to bring multiple Draconices?
Yeah, nice.
Draconics?
Draconics.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to bring multiples. Even just one is usually a liability. There's cheaper heroes that can take Stormdrakes. His buff requires being in combat range with the Stormdrakes and then rolling a 2+, and I think they just do enough damage on their own. They don't need the buff, right? It's like overkill in some cases. So yeah, Draconis is viable. He's fine. He's not bad. He's just 10 points doesn't matter. Same with Neve, right? If you're good, if you use Neve, you're going to use Neve. If you don't, like me, because you hate the 3+ roll, then you're just not going to use her no matter what point she's at. 310 instead of 320 doesn't matter for her, really.
I feel like if he'd be a bit cheaper, but like you can only bring him with Stormdrakes or something. I don't know. He's a weird unlock.
His regiment is only Extremis. It's a really bad regiment.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't need him for anything.
No, he'd have to be 200. He would have to compete directly with stuff like Vandus and a Lord Celestin on Drakon.
Yeah.
Be like, I have 30 points in my list. I'm going to upgrade my guy to a Knight Draconis because they do slightly more damage.
I was thinking maybe you know how some armies have different kinds of exemplars? Like Idoneth have the Raid Master or the Isharan Emissary, like different kinds, right, for different heroes. I was thinking the Draconis could be a different kind of exemplar that would go into big dragon regiments. But but being an exemplar doesn't matter now, right? Like, would you bring this guy as an exemplar?
Would it
matter?
I could imagine if he was 200 and an exemplar, like especially like with if you saw what they did to the Fyreslayers index, they were like Auric Runesuns are now exemplars.
On Magmadroth or just regular?
Yes, on Magmadroth. If something like that happened, they're I mean the old one and the new one, they're both exemplar.
Yeah,
so if I take a Runefather on Magmadroth, it
could. But yeah, he needs that more of like a radical change rather than a 10-point decrease. He's basically the same unit he was before.
I don't want to dedicate a regiment to him. Like his regiment is ass.
This season, it's fine because we probably want more regiments, right? Like if you're going Stormdrakes, you can just control the double, and that's fine. Like you bring Knight Judicators.
Again, we're coming up with he's not a wizard, he's not a priest. What are we doing? Why is he?
I think he could have been a good target for a Gairan War Scroll, if you ask me.
I think of him as like a Kurdos Valentian from Nighthaunt. You know what I mean? Like in terms of utility. And
Yeah.
Kordos is like currently 190. I think he could be like 210 maybe if they're or 200, like 20 points over.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. He's fine. He's not spectacular.
Yeah.
And the cheaper he gets, the more interesting the single Stormdrake option becomes, right? Because so we'll get there. Like anything to say about Neve? I think she's viable. I think you can probably make a 4-1 list with Neve. The unreliability of her fight ability is just keeps her from being a 5-0 potential.
But she's fun. Like it's like a playing on hard mode. I take her to like a GT for fun, for sure.
Yeah, there's just way better options.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Vigilant on Griftstalker first. Again, 10 points down doesn't change whether or not you bring the double. Like if you're going to use double tap prosecutors, you're going to use double tap prosecutors regardless of 10 points on the Vigilant. That doesn't matter. It is nice because prosecutors, I think, were overcosted previously. Right, that extra 10 points on prosecutors. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe instead of reducing the points on prosecutors, they're trying to reduce the points on the Vigilant. Like I think him and the Terminos could both be 140. I don't think they need to be 150.
Yeah.
And then
he's the best cavalry fighting hero, I think, outside of.
Is he?
Bandis.
Weird.
Yeah, because no, he's kind of like Dryclots. They both do 2 damage. So,
Vigilant on Morgriff, on the other hand, remember we gave this F tier, and we were like, the only way this becomes playable is if it gets super cheap and we get good enhancements that we can put on it, and regiments no longer matter. I think we actually ended up saying that because he actually becomes a in the previous season he was straight up a detriment because he increased your drops. But now where drops don't matter and he's only 220 points and we have good enhancements to give him, he is basically just a big cavalry unit with the hero keyword. He's a hero cavalry unit. And that's an interesting niche, especially for like a flanking unit, like a 12-inch flying move that can hide behind terrain, come out and attack stuff. It's so close to being good. That's why I put in the not enough. Another 20 points off it, and the Vigilant on Morgriff is a viable unit in Stormcast. But not in the way that the designers intended. Nothing on his War Scroll matters, right? Like +5 control sucks. The Strike Last, Rampage sucks. Everything about this War Scroll sucks. It just becomes a beat stick. Just a stat stick. That doesn't even have priest or wizard. It's just a blank War Scroll without any utility, but it's efficient.
How much is it now?
220. He started at 270.
Okay. And what's the total max damage?
Oh gosh. Hold on. I have this.
Oh, you have this. I know you did.
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you, but I can look up his average damage.
28.
Okay. 28.
He is more efficient than Axe Paladors. He's more efficient than Stormstrike Paladors. He's about as efficient as Stormdrake Guard. Point for point, he's comparable to Stormdrake Guard.
He's like a cheap,
he's like a big chariot. He's a big chariot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. At 200 points, he becomes good.
Yeah.
At 220,
we're so close. We're so close.
I would try now. 200, I would try.
Yeah, because think about it. You can give him Hour of Glory to Finest Hour every single turn, and then he becomes a flanking unit that's using Finest Hour every turn. So he's on a 2-up save on your turn and 10 control, which is a really cool flanking unit.
Yep. And plus he's a Ruination Chamber, so he ignores some abilities.
Yep, and Sigil of Mordra. That would be a good artifact for him as well. He would actually be an interesting flank unit. If he was 20 points cheaper.
You guys remember that city's Griffin from 3rd edition? That area that every city used to run? Like, he would pretty much become like that. Yeah, he pretty much
basically.
Like that.
Yep.
Yeah, they had an Undying Griffin back in the day.
Yeah, it's like that, yeah. So he's close. He's
and then
almost
Fulminators?
there. Yeah, Fulminators just won't see play until they get much cheaper.
Because Concussors.
Concussors do it better. And if you want like an expensive cavalry hammer, you play Stormdrakes now instead. Like Fulminators are just bad Stormdrakes, and the price difference isn't enough to justify it. Even though the price difference is like 200 points, it's not enough to justify it. Especially now that we can recycle Stormdrakes, and that 600 point price tag is fine. It's fine to pay 600 for Stormdrakes now. I'd rather recycle Stormdrakes. I'd rather recycle Prosecutors. Fulminators just don't do enough damage over Concussors to be viable.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Never Enough. I know, Morgonk, you're going to say the Lord Imperator has hope, but honest to God, if he was 90 points, I don't think.
No. I've given up on him. Like the thing is, like I was at a place where I was like, okay, they're clearly going for a place in their design where things cannot be below 100 points. Like heroes cannot be below 100 points because it causes problems, and especially heroes that aren't wizards or priests. But now I'm seeing like 80-point Rune Suns, 90-point Soul Reapers, like all these 80 and 90-point heroes, and like the Lord Imperator does not do anything except that one deep strike once per game ability. Because it's once per game. Once he's down, he can never do it again.
He competes with enhancements. He needs to be as cheap as an enhancement. That's what he is. He's an enhancement with a stick.
Like, they should either write a new war skill for him entirely or make him 70 points. That's what maybe I would consider.
Yeah.
100 and let me bring everything.
He used to have so many things that he contributed to. Remember a free CP every turn?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Where'd that go?
So
Kyle says, want to comment on the Honest War Gamers' love of the Lord of Periton plus 6 Grand Hammers? I think that's a bad list. I think one good redeploy will make you lose the game almost instantaneously because you will put 400 something points out there and they will just die.
Oh, it's not even a bad redeploy. It could just be a failed charge, right?
Yeah, it happened when we had a 7-inch charge.
Yeah.
Like, you could roll a 1 on the D3 move and now your Grand Hammers are 8 inches away, and then you just redeploy from that, and you redeploy 2 inches, and that's a 10-inch charge. If you don't hit that 10-inch charge, that's a 380-point unit that's dead next turn.
Yeah. It to be clear, we rank units on like tournament play, right? For casual play, Lord Imperator is a hoot. It is so fun to use him because you have no idea what's going to happen. Your opponent has no idea what's going to happen. It's like a completely different play style. For competitive play, though, we don't think that play style is worth the risk, right? The package would have to be so cheap, and it can never be that cheap because Grand Hammers can't be as cheap as we need it to be to make this Imperator playable. Yeah, it's stupid fun. Exactly. It is super fun. And maybe books should have units like this that are just, not the strongest choice, but fun, because sometimes the desire to create the strongest choices leads to creating rules that aren't fun. And the most important thing in a game is fun.
I don't even think it's particularly fun. It's not fun to have my hero have this once per game ability and just be like a bad beat stick after that. I would rather have him do something like as he sticks around, because that's what Lord Imperators are. They're like commanders in their own right. They're strategists.
And I think there's easy ways to fix him. We've probably mentioned these before, but he could be in any Stormcast hero. He could be the cheapest one in the whole book. He could be, 120 points, bring any Stormcast. You have regiment issues? Bam, Lord Imperator. He sucks, but he's cheap. Right? He could also move like, one unit each turn D3 instead of 3 units once per game.
Or have him deep strike with one, be like any unit that deep strikes around him. Once per game, you can pick one unit that deep strikes around him. That unit gets to move 3 inches. Not D3, 3.
Yeah,
and if you think that's too powerful because it's Storm Drakes and Fulminators or whatever, restrict it to Warrior Chamber only.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I saw in the index, and it continued into our book, was this, like, they were sort of afraid to make anything too powerful, so they sort of dumbed down some things. There's obviously some powerful stuff, but they dumbed down.
It's because he got abused last edition, because people were bringing him in like 15 and 9 letters.
Sure, but I would almost rather the Imperator have that same really strong ability, but have caveats about how you take him. Like, maybe you can only take him in a really obscure regiment, or maybe he's just a lot of points, right? But it unlocks all this other stuff. Like, I don't know, it seems the way that they handle it sometimes doesn't quite make sense, because it ends up just being a situation where, I guess I'm just never going to play that thing that you've made animations about and you've talked about in the lore. I guess we're just not going to do that because, like, you've balanced it in such a weird way.
The thing is, they're not even particularly afraid of 7-inch deep strikes or moving after teleporting, because the important Archregent spell, he can cast it all the way from back in the corner. You could deep strike a zombie dragon and it moves D6. You could bring Alrak the Drowner, which is that Nighthaunt boat guy unit, and he basically brings a Nighthaunt unit with him, like teleports, doesn't even deep strike, 7 inches away from the opponents.
Yep.
And they have access to 3d6 now. So
Idoneth can get 7-inch deep strikes, right? That's just a regular thing Idoneth can do. So to answer your question in chat, now you roll, which weapon option is good in Storm Drakes? Lance. You should always be charging with Storm Drakes. There was maybe an argument last season where you could get stuck in combats where swords might end up being better overall, but now that we have recycling techniques, we can always be charging with Storm Drakes. There's never a reason you can't be charging, so always use the Lance. You'll basically have the same damage output, but you'll have anti-infantry as well.
ABC.
Always be charging.
Always be charging.
Yeah, I think it's smart, this GHB. Like, I was playing 3 swords, 1 lance on the hero for the extra attack. But I think moving into this, being able to recycle, it's a massive change.
Yeah. They should really standardize that weapon, right? I think that might be the only weapon in a War Scroll that we have now that's not standardized.
Right.
Even Liberator shields don't matter, but Stormdrake weapons.
Chariot.
Oh yeah, Chariot, I guess so. But that's like range versus melee. That's fine, right?
Yeah. I'm like, but Stormstrike Paladors, right? Stormstrike Paladors are basically like they don't matter. That's what they should do.
Yep. Agreed. Okay, and then in the never enough tier, we're talking about that. We talked about Imperaton. Azeros. I have convinced myself maybe that I wouldn't play the Azeros at any point value because he'd have to be like 60 points, like
100.
So cheap. 100 wouldn't be
100.
enough. I wouldn't put him in my list at 100. I just wouldn't. I'd rather have a priest for 110.
Really?
Yeah, I'd rather have Lord Veritan every time.
Yeah, I guess between teleporting prosecutors and moving prosecutors, yeah.
And an
you're
unbind
right.
and a -1 chant.
It would have to be auto. It cannot be on a 3-0.
Yeah, he needs
One
a
of
War
those
Scroll.
abilities,
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make it once per game. Make it 3+, and then there's an enhancement to reroll. I don't know. It just can't be a 3+. It's just too unreliable.
Yeah. Light of Sigmar, in my opinion, should not be a free. Like, healing D3 is not that strong, guys. Like, Night Vexler just does it every hero phase.
Healing
It's
D3 at the start of the combat phase is, in particular, not the time you want to be healing it. The best time to heal is after the combat phase, right? End of turn healing is the best in this game. Or hero phase, because that's basically end of turn. It's just the following.
Yeah, because you're starting next turn.
Yeah. Those are the two best
so
times.
I think that can be auto. Like, just remove the 3+ from there, please.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah, I remember saying in our Battlestorm review, like, this guy could be cheaper than prosecutors. He could be 130 and then be playable. And it turns out I was wrong. He is still not playable at 130. So, unfortunate. Sick model, but it won't see play. And we took 2 nerfs. Every army has something that costs points, which I think is the justification for this, because I don't think there's any faction terrain that should cost points in this game. It's just, why? Why? Unless, if you have no choice, if your choice is faction terrain or not faction terrain, it shouldn't cost points. I can understand ogres, because they have 2 faction terrain pieces. That could cost points if one of them was actually good, but neither of them are.
Which one is costing points? Is it just us and Seraphon?
I think so. I don't recall any others off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So it feels like they just added a point cost because they needed to add it to 2 things, and they were looking at Stormcast and they're like, all of their enhancements suck. What are we going to actually make cost 20 points? That would be, like, Envoy is so hard to use. And now that we're not using, the big reinforced brick units, like we're not running 2 or 3 reinforced units anymore, Envoy's just naturally gone out of style. And now that it costs 20 points, it's like, no, I don't think so. Yeah,
it also comes down to what factions they prefer. Like the base logic was, if you need your faction terrain, then you don't get points. But if you don't need it, then you get points. But the thing is, like, there's a lot of faction terrain that are like what I would call a gray area, where it's like, does Khorne need its faction terrain? The answer is no. Like you don't need Khorne. Like, Khorne doesn't need it anymore now that especially now that summoning, like the way they used to, is gone.
It's weird because
they didn't get any points.
All the faction terrain that cost points. You mentioned Dan in chat says Lumineth. Yes, Lumineth as well. All the faction terrain that costs points is so good that you'd play it even if it costs points. So all it's doing is taxing those armies. Did Seraphon need a 20-point tax right now? Did Lumineth need a 20-point tax right now? It just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel fair. It's fine with enhancements because it's like, oh, well, if I don't want to pay 20 points for Envoy, I'll take one of the other heroic traits. Or spell lores or manifestation lores, things like that. It's like, if there's a choice, okay, then one can cost 0. But if there's no choice, then it's just a tax on the army, and it doesn't make sense. All right, no objections to that.
All right, let's move on.
Let's move on. So we're going to talk about other armies now. So give me a second. We're going to do this. I've got a tier list set up here, so we can just, work our way through it. We're doing good. We're only an hour in so far. And then the other thing I have is the actual battle scroll. Bam, brought up. So we're going to start off with one of the bigger change armies, the Cities of Sigmar. Like, there's so much green here, and I don't understand cities well enough to know just how big of an impact this is going to have. But it looks like
it's pretty huge.
Huge change, right?
Yeah. It's like, it really just reduced points on not taking units. But stuff like Fusel Major on Warhawk, Free Guild Marshal, Cavalier Marshals, especially, oh my god, Cavalier Marshal has become that Kruleboyz unit that's like 3-up save, whatever that cavalry unit is.
Yeah. The killer boss on Nash.
Yeah, yeah. He's basically at that level now. Like a 7-moon, a 7-moon 3-up save, strike first when he charges with the cavalry unit. All these changes are great. Like, and since they got one of the best boosts, in my opinion, from Scourge of Garion, I mean, this army was already pretty good with all the dwarves and humans, and now like the all humans build actually becomes viable.
Is every list gonna play Zenestra? Is she that good?
Dude, counter teleporting 3 units. We thought recycling 1 was good. You're telling me 3?
Yeah, and she does it on a 2
From anywhere on the
reroll.
board.
Yeah,
From anywhere on the board.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't even need to put herself at risk. She could be in the corner.
Yeah, it's so good on it works really well in Stormcast because we have very expensive and fragile units. And fast units, expensive, fragile, fast. That combination specifically is worth recycling. Does Cities have something like that?
Yeah. So the way I've seen people talk about it is you could recycle Cavaliers, or what you could do is that you could reset your gun line. So if you have something like 3 cannons or like Fusiliers and cannons, it's very easy to just like you put them out and then take them back.
Okay. Take an aggressive stance and then fall back. Okay.
Yeah, and
I
it
think
lets
every
them,
city's list, it was like Margonk saying. I think it's Pontifex, 3 cannons, and that's where the list starts. And then it's whatever else you want.
What are the cannons doing?
like
Are they
being
the
able to
teleporting thing?
reposition- Yeah, the teleporting thing, and now because they got that one sub-faction where they re-roll a hit roll, a wound roll, or damage roll.
Each one gets to? That's sick.
Yeah, each one gets to. Up to 3 war machines get to.
It turns out if you just add something that fixes the fundamental problem with a unit, that makes that unit good.
But yeah, who knew?
Wow.
And then so they just get to shoot at stuff. I mean, no, obscuring obviously will affect them, but these guys are great. Like -2 rent, D3 +1 damage, I think, on their shots.
They're only 100 points for those cannons? Nice.
Yeah,
they're 100 now.
They're bringing 3 cannons now, and plus the Fusel Major, if he targets something with his long rifle, he gives them +1 to hit already. So they're going to be on 3s and 2s, rerolling either a wound roll or a hit roll or a random damage roll.
Interesting. Very interesting. Rerolling the damage roll is the big one, right? Because you hate rolling ones on that.
Yeah.
But you said you're playing humans whether you like it or not.
Get used to it.
Honestly, even her thing with where she like starts giving out those murder rolls to humans, people are thinking of bringing 20 steel helms. Because 20 steel helms on an objective on a 3-up give themselves a 5-0 ward. So you're trying to kill a bunch of units through a 5-0 ward, and they're murder rolling you.
How much are they now?
80
Only 80
points.
points. Oh man. We're already back to 3rd edition point values here.
Yeah.
Aether Wings are also 80 points. I would like to point that out.
I know. They should be 40, man.
10 health on a 4-up versus 6 health on a 6-up. Yeah. Okay, so how are we feeling about cities then? Look, it sounds like it's going to be a strong army. Maybe A tier?
Yes. Yeah, A tier. I think Zenestra will have to be nerfed at some point. Like, it's so hard to plan around that.
This might have been their attempt to you guys could disagree with me. I think this might have been their attempt to increase the floor of the army. Because I think like only really top players are pushing the army like 4-1, but then every other cities that just just like kind of picked up the army was like 1-4. I think this is their like attempt to be like, okay, we're gonna find a way to make you go 3-2.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
also, you have to remember, people don't want to buy Warhammer Fantasy stuff. That is not what they're getting into this game for. People want the new cool models. Cities have a lot of new cool models. Almost all of them suck. Rules ones. This is their attempt to change that.
I held one of the cannons in my hand for the first time, and the detail on that model's spectacular.
All of them.
So good.
I mean, the paint. It's paint wise, it's one of the hardest armies to paint, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Did they put the dwarfs down? Did they get green?
They put the heroes down, but not the units. I don't think.
Okay,
Gyrocopters went down.
That's mostly what I've seen in the last 6 months. Though, is just reinforced units of those dwarves. Yeah,
but I think A tier, obviously time will tell, but the good people who play it will like it, and then the bad players do get a boost. So I think it's like I think Zenestra and Cavaliers, the new Cavaliers, I think just that good. Like, one of the main things that I hate about Cavalry is that how Khorne can murder lust into you.
Yep.
And Cavaliers don't care. They're just like, I just kind of having charged anyway, boy.
Yeah,
I'm good.
and they can make the Cavalier count as charged, which means he gets strike first, which means the Cavaliers get strike first.
Yeah, exactly.
So how come none of their enhancements cost points? What is this nonsense? How come this is like the one army that doesn't have a point cost?
Their enhancements aren't that good anyway.
Neither were ours. That wasn't worth putting point costs on them.
Oh, because people got annoyed by 3-up save file wards. It always happens. You know that causes so much feel like, oh, I can't kill your 6 Paladors on a 5-up ward. Well, 20 points.
Well,
like the one time a tournament you got it off.
I know. I forgot about it constantly. I don't think I got it off.
Yeah, it just never happens.
If people hate the 5-up
It's like
ward,
if I have to remember to use an enhancement from a prerequisite condition in the last turn, that's not going to happen. Like, what a shitty way to write an enhancement. We're not doing bookkeeping here. Just let me do the thing.
It should be if any unit has been destroyed this battle. That should be the condition. Lose a unit, and then for the rest of the game.
I can remember, a unit died, but did it die last turn? Did you double me? Then I can't use it. It has to be my hero phase. Like, what are we doing here? It should, if anything, if I was writing an enhancement that depended on a unit dying, it would have been instantaneously. Reaction, a Stormcast unit has been destroyed on the field. Pick a unit, give it a 5-up. It doesn't matter. Any phase, any time.
Problem with that is duration. Do you make it last until your next hero phase? In which case
you make it until your next turn. Until your next turn. Start your next turn. Until the start of your
the current version of it is a little bit different though in functionality, so I don't think it would be the same thing.
Sure, but like I just don't want to remember what happened last turn. Like I'm already thinking so much about the battle.
No, it's fair.
Just like,
it's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like the points. Like when I saw those points on it, I was like, oh, I guess like more reason not to take it anymore.
Yeah.
Next up, Daughters of Khaine. I think this is an easy slam jam A tier army now, right?
S tier army.
Crazy insane.
Okay. Yeah. Like,
did you guys see the battle report that they had on Seasons of War on YouTube?
I didn't
have a chance yet.
Like, wow. Like, are those like a lot of those are like new abilities from the guy ran stuff, but it's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Kruthuza and the Witch Elf build was already pretty good. It was a little bit of a high skills healing army, but it was already, in my opinion, a good like high B, low A tier army. And it got boosted in every way imaginable.
Yeah, recursion.
They had this
killer instinct.
The movement prayer is incredible.
No. It's like they had these series of buffs, okay? But all their buffs were blockading each other. So Kruthuza could make you move in the hero phase, but you counted as having ran. So you could not charge unless you got Seed of Shadows off. It was little things like that, like the buff layers were not helping. And then they could stop commands, but then they could not use the move in hero phase thing. Now everything is streamlined. They have a prayer to move. They can stop your commands. They can charge after moving. They still have their spell lore. Everything now works like in conjunction together. And Kruthuza is amazing as a priest. Like 240, I'll gladly pay that.
It feels like
she doesn't need a cauldron tax. She doesn't need a cauldron tax near her anymore.
Yeah.
She's
and cauldrons can't be shot. Like the first thing I would do against DOK is put my long strikes into their cauldron and destroy it. Take that thing off the field. Pick up your toys.
No, it's obscure.
I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, what were you saying?
She builds up her prayer points like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like just every turn that extra D3 or whatever that she can do, it's insane.
Her prayers are usually a 2+ because she banks points so easily. Yeah. It's nuts. Yeah. It feels like that 3rd edition version of Daughters that we always wanted to come forward, you know, like when we did the Battletome review, and then we always kept talking about it, like finally it's the time for that, you know, like disposable witch elf missile list. And it feels like they're finally realizing that vision now. I think it's here.
Yeah.
Because 10 witch elves do stupid damage if you buff them up. When they're 100 points. Like you don't care what happens to them after.
Yeah, and with the movement tricks you can do, you can get them 26 inches across the board, basically. Like it's just crazy.
And then you revive
depending on what you roll in charge. But yeah,
just come back to life.
Yeah, and then you revive
into what's the one battle formation is like change one of the dice roll or something to make a deep strike charge is super reliable, and you have +1 charge. It's like, oh, even after I kill them, I'm still taking damage from them the next turn. Yeah, I can see the S tier. I don't know if they'll be that strong. I'm hesitant to say S tier, but if you guys agree, then I think I'd put it in S tier. It does seem very strong.
Yeah, based on what I saw, and
at least A. I mean, obviously, like we can't call it, but yeah, I would say at least A. Minimum.
Because S for us means overpowered, right? Like it's too strong. It needs to be toned down.
It may
be. There could be an argument, Paul, that at this point in a new GHB, then we couldn't have any S's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like this is a prediction.
Yeah. If there's a
I
front
think they're
runner,
gonna be A+, possibly S.
if there's a front runner for S, I would agree that it's Daughters. They look very good.
Craig said, "So glad it's Marathi or nothing." Craig, Marathi's not good.
He said it's so glad it's not Marathi or nothing.
Oh yeah, no, but like, yeah, but it's like no, but Marathi. Even I would say even before this, Marathi is not a good unit. Covering fire and that whole 3-wound thing just doesn't work this edition.
I have a friend who's a local, and I think I've seen him maybe twice this last GHB, and he signed up for an RTT next week.
Playing Daughters?
He's ready to go.
Yes.
Okay, he's locked in.
Who's just sitting, waiting. Who's just like, oh yeah, now I'm coming.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Fyreslayers. So I'm very excited about the Runeson on Magmadroth. I think that looks awesome. The new Scourge of Gairan one. I'm less excited about, like Runesmiters on Magmadroth still seem not good, not worth their points. So it's probably going to be like Runefather, a couple Suns, and then you dip into the regular Fyreslayer stuff as much as possible. Like you don't go all Magmadroths. You go maybe 900 points of them.
So the Runesmiter sort of works because he's the only priest that can keep up with the Magmadroths if you want to do like counter praying or praying with them. Because the Runemaster sort of tries to stick around the terrain piece. Now you could sort of compensate for that with a deep striking Runesmiter on foot. But one thing of the good about the Runesmiter and Magmadroth is that tail rampage is actually pretty good. I think he has to roll under or equal to the number of models you have, and then he does D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. Every combat phase.
Mm-hmm.
It's decent.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I agree. He's the weakest out of the bunch. I think you're just fine building lists with 1 father and 2 sons.
Yeah, I think that's a good speed core. And what I like about that is they can play together as a Death Star, but they can also split apart because they're fast enough to actually do that, which isn't something Fyreslayers normally have access to. But you still need the bodies behind them, right? So I think the Fyreslayers will pivot into a mixed arms kind of thing. It's not often with Fyreslayers that you go all Magmadroths or all infantry. I don't think you can do either this season because the all Magmadroths is not efficient enough, and the all infantry is too slow for these battle plans.
The important thing is to keep the Droughthelm holder alive, or keep them kicking, because that puts +1 to hit on both your Fire Breath in a 12-inch aura and the Claw and the Fang attacks.
Yeah. Now I'm wishing I didn't sell my Fyreslayers, but if what I hear is coming out at a reveal show soon is true, then I'm looking forward to what's coming next for dwarves in the Mortal Realms.
Armies like these, I just want to say, are kind of why 6 long strikes and having a good shooting core is important.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of armies in this game, like Fyreslayers, like Nurgle, who are way too slow now to just march up the board. They will lose. You could just sit at your board edge for 3 turns and watch them fail to score. So they have to tech into things like monsters and things with fly to get speed, and that's where your long strikes and your shooting core come in. True. So, dude, don't run out and just dump all your shooting, especially if you're playing Stormcast. Like, a shooting core is going to be very, very important.
Yep. It's shooting. We still have to shoot. We're not durable enough, and we don't have enough sources of strike first guaranteed in order to be a reliable melee-only army. We have to shoot.
Yes. I think
if you want to play melee only, just put some chaos symbols on your storm.
I think they're A tier. I think they could be A tier.
Fyreslayers are A tier.
Like the Runeson does ludicrous amounts of damage. I saw a game against Nurgle at my local store where they just punked that Nurgle army. They poured like 12 Dragon Breaths into it at -2 Ren, hitting on 2s.
But they just died to shooting, right? Like the Magmadroths have no defense against shooting.
Well, so some of them, there's some defense. So okay. If they know you're going to shoot them, they can pop that rune that gives them a 5 up ward +1 to save. So they're on 3 up saves now. They could all out defense. Their main Magmadroth, the one they need to keep alive, takes the mount trait that reduces any weapons incoming Ren by 1. The list that I'm building, the list that myself and Craig, he's a Welsh player, he's really good at Fyreslayers. They have a Battlesmith in them. So our rallies are 9 dice.
Yeah, see, I think I can still, even with all that, I can one-tap a Magmadroth between Night Relictor, Adjudicators, maybe Tempesters. I feel like the Magmadroths still just die too quickly to shooting.
Sure.
I think I don't want to put them in, so far in the A tier we've put Cities and Daughters, and I don't think Fyreslayers are that caliber army right now. I think B+ maybe A-, that kind of thing. I see the potential. I'm very, like I said, I wish I didn't sell my Fyreslayers because it looks really fun to play this season. And strong. Most of them. I kept all the painted stuff, but I sold off all the rest. I'm waiting for them to get a full release in 4th edition.
Okay.
If it happens in 4th edition, might not be.
Okay.
Is there anything else in Fyreslayers we want to talk about? It's just the Maggotkin stuff. Everything else is the same, right? Which is what it was before. It is now. It's still good.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Idoneth. There's nothing because they're getting a new battle tome. So what do we talk about with Idoneth? The Soggy Thrallmaster is kind of interesting. I don't think now.
No. Nobody cares about the Soggy Scrolls.
-1 rend. Shooting and melee. It's very good. Very strong effect.
Yeah, but it's only against Namarti, right?
Only for Namarti, yeah. So
Doesn't matter. They're on 5 saves.
If a new battle tome comes out and makes Reavers and Thralls better, then this Soggy Thrallmaster is very good. Right? Because it's 5 saves, but you're basically +1 save because of the Thrallmaster, and you get a 5 ward from the turtle, and you have the soul renders to revive stuff. There's potential there for Namarti to get good, but not with their current war scrolls. Like Thralls especially need a new war scroll, and not the one they got in this update. This is not a good update for them.
The Sharks one is really good. The one
Sharks is nuts. Yeah, I think Shark spam and revival. I say spam, but like 4 Sharks in a list, right? That's not that much spam. It's 720 points. It's fine. Or 740. No, 640. Math. Reviving Sharks is stupid good in Idoneth. Giving an army that didn't have recursion is stupidly good. Because especially this army, which really just controls the game until round 2-3. Like that's the pivotal step. Idoneth's hardest problem was surviving 2 turns of aggression. And at the same time that they've reduced the need for declaring battle tactics in round 1 you could just play defensively now with Idoneth. You could just sit back and do nothing round 1. And then round 2, they kill your Sharks because that's all you've sent out to score objectives. And then it's like, oh, okay, cool. I have my entire army up now. I've taken basically 0 damage, and I'm going into my high tide turn. That's the best possible scenario for Idoneth, and they can manufacture that scenario in every single game now.
Yeah. Constant Heaven Sent is good. Like, if our Strong Strike Chariots can be replaced every turn, yeah, I would take them.
Yeah. They would be good. If we had Heaven Sent on a War Machine every turn, Chariots would be good. Yeah. And if that War Machine also had a gun, like
yeah. Also, this army is already A tier, by the way. It has the highest win rate, I think.
It is currently A tier, and I think it's looking better. So it's another one of those like A+ tier armies, like contender for S. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's before their new book. To be very clear, if the book comes out in 3 weeks and people are watching this and be like, "What are you talking about, guys? Idoneth sucks now." We're talking about before they get their updated book, which they've confirmed is completely throwing out the Tides of Death and replacing it with something else. Which could be good. It could be bad. So yeah, top of A tier along with Daughters, I think. Kharadron. They have some rough matchups in this season. The terrain is very bad for them. Unless their book gives them some way to destroy terrain. I don't know. Riggers? Just Endrin riggers for days?
Is like all the lists I've been seeing for KO like dropped like 100, 200 points. So you're just going to bring way more bodies now. And I still feel like they could kind of play the tactic of waiting for stuff to get kind of out of the trees, right? Like you just can't shoot the whole army, right? They have to get used to shooting like 25 to like probably 50% most of an army now. It's no longer 3rd edition where they could see everything, they could shoot everything, they're just done with it.
The problem is your opponent chooses what you shoot, and that's the worst kind of target for shooting. Right? Your opponent chooses, I'm putting this unit out at this time in the open. That's the only thing you're capable of shooting. Everything else is going to tuck in on obscuring while it's within your threat ranges, because I'm pretty sure Kharadron in this edition don't have a teleport, do they? No, they lost that, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so
they don't have the
They're not flat high. They have deep strike.
So what happens how shooting in this edition this season's going to look is if you don't teleport shoot. Let's just say you're like a block of 40 sentinels or 20 sentinels, right? You're faced up against that. You say, okay, well, here's the obscuring that's in the threat range of those sentinels. My units that are in that threat range are going to be on that obscuring. Outside of that threat range, my units can be wherever they want because I know that the sentinels can't get to you. When you add teleporting into the mix, what you're essentially doing is oh, nothing is safe. Everything has to hug obscuring. And that's where you actually start creating space on the board to do other things. So shooting in that case doesn't just become like damage output, it becomes a control tool. But Kharadron don't teleport. They're fast, but they don't teleport. And there is a difference in that because there's only so far forward they can move, and their guns can only reach so far. They don't have the infinite threat range of like teleporting sentinels with a wind mage or Stormcast with our portal and reserves. And so I think they are going to struggle if they bring significant shooting. I think the only pivot is riggers. They have to go into the melee stuff, and it's not going to be Skyward.
I've seen the lists that are 3 frigates, and then just a bunch of ended riggers and Skywardens.
Yeah,
it's like 18, 20, 21 even.
Such a boring season. Like they got this cool gun hauler that actually does decent shooting damage, and they can't even use it because everything's going to be obscured.
Maybe their book adds in flashlights for them. You know, like in 40K, you know, like in 40K, like there's flamers, right? Like you could shoot things in cover with flamers, right? Maybe KO's the first army.
You mean indirect?
Yeah, indirect.
Like, indirect.
Yeah, so like cool. Something like that. Maybe that like they're the first army. Like, okay, you're -1 to hit, but at least you could shoot.
No, you know what's really annoying? I don't know if you saw the Nighthaunt Soggy update. They have an enhancement that picks an enemy unit and says you don't have guarded hero. Like you can just shoot them. Yeah. Why didn't KO get something like you don't have? It turns off your obscuring. They turn on the spotlights on their ship and they marker like you.
Because Nighthaunt shooting is crossbows. That's why.
Yeah,
it's gonna be crossbows meta. Watch it.
It's like, why is this enhancement in Nighthaunt? And for that reason alone, I was like, they should have a way, not for terrain necessarily, but for objectives, for place of power to turn off obscure.
James has been saying that they got to give Kharadron napalm so they can just spray it all over the trees and burn it down.
Yeah, destroy the terrain.
Yeah,
burn it.
Yeah, I really wish we had the Night Heraldry, man. I miss him.
Honestly, that could have been like a cool idea. Like, let us destroy terrain. Like, you make all the terrain obscuring. Okay, then I can shoot the trees. Like, let me just
burning effect.
I mean, yeah,
you add burning to the terrain, and they can no longer be used as obscured.
Yeah, removes obscuring, and it can't be obscured for the rest of the battle.
And does D3 damage on anyone who's on it, so people have to leave it. Like that would be pretty powerful.
Yeah. In the chat, when are you going to release an update on the unit tier list? We are working on a Battletome re-review and re-ranking all of the units, and there have been significant changes from the last season. So look forward to that. That should be out probably 2 weeks if I had to put a date on it. No promises yet, but probably 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The General's Handbook hasn't even officially come out yet, right? It comes out Saturday. So
yes.
I think that's fine. Okay, so Kharadron, how are we feeling in the... Oh, I want to mention, how nice is it that all of the Kharadron stuff fits on one page? This is actually a well-formatted, easy-to-read document. Every other page is like, 2/3 of the page is taken up with header, footer, empty space. Like it's ugly. It's awful to look at. But the Kharadron one, nice and clean. Very nice. I like it. So tier list, C? Like they're not unplayable. They're not D. But they feel
boring.
Yeah. I think it's C, yeah.
I feel like we should have brought out the fun versus power slider. And they're not doing great on both right now.
Yeah.
The engine riggers are Ren 2?
Yes. But they are so fragile.
Damage.
They're 2 health apiece. They just die to covering fire. It's awful.
But that's sort of like sisters as well.
Not even covering fire. A good rampage will kill like half the unit.
The difference with daughters is that their units are way cheaper, have more health, and can be revived with Krethissa. And can get obscured.
More health?
Yeah, 10
of them,
10 health on witches as opposed to 6 on the riggers.
True.
But think about it this way. You know how we always say like Tempesters in the past were really bad because half their damage is attached to shooting? It's like that for Enden riggers.
Yeah.
And now with obscuring, it's like they're never going to get to do half their damage.
They're going to win games against monsters, and they're going to win games against flying units. Like, it's not like an unplayably bad army. It's just that this is not the army I would pick right now to try to 5-0 a tournament.
How does it beat Khorne? That's my question.
Dice game?
Yeah.
Dice game, right? So anything can happen. It's not unplayably bad, like I said. I think C tier is a fair spot for them.
Also, you can shoot everything they have except for Thunders. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like if I have cities and you're going up against me, I'm fortified. I'm negative reducing a rend. Like I'm killing you.
Okay, Lumineth Realmlords. So we're talking Warden spam now, right? Like,
Yes, I think so.
They're pivoting hard into infantry. They're getting out of the 2x40 Sentinels, and they're either going Stone Guard, or they're going Blade Lords, or they're going Wardens. And
their infantry has gotten cheap enough where you could run 60 Wardens, 20 Sentinels, and still have room for 10 Dawn Riders and some mages and like 2 heroes, which is a lot. That's a lot of meat.
Yeah,
for
and
Lumineth.
when you go that heavy on the meat, I think you can actually bring in the Enlightener to start twinning Speed of Hish. You can start twinning Ethereal Blessing. Then you can have another hero try to put up the protection of Hish. I think the lists are going to be very, very different from what we saw before. I think Dawn Riders are probably not going to be good enough, right? Like the big reinforced Dawn Rider block, we're not going to see that anymore. I feel like you guys are about to say I'm wrong. Let's hear it. Come on.
No,
Dawn Rider's still good?
I feel 10 is still good. It's a big target, but like you have to deal with them, right? Because they still do good damage.
They always get dealt with, though. They always get charged first and stuck in combat, and that's where they stay the rest of the game.
But it used to never have 60 Wardens also marching behind them.
Yeah, but I'm hearing Stone Guard. I'm more and more hearing Wardens or Stone Guard. That's the main way. You can run a couple of 5 Dawn Riders on the flanks for some easy tactics and flank damage, but I think the real core is going to be Stone Guard that cannot be shot, and just get to duke it out in melee.
Yeah. And they get the free 5-up ward on objectives. There's so many objectives on battle plans now. It's actually really
what
easy.
scrolls did they even get? Was it the banner and something?
The new banner, which gives you +1 save on infantry, which is Wardens, right? So instead of Ethereal, you could just make them a 3-up save. And then you got the Light of Eltharion that can be resurrected with a summon spell, which is cool.
Okay. Which is cool. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Lumineth can completely play such a slow army. I think that this season, they do get Field Sergeant, which is cool. +2 move is nice for those Warden blocks, but I don't know if those Warden blocks, like, it's a better version of Fyreslayers. I'll give you that. But I still don't think that style is going to produce that many results, because the battle plans are so spread out. You just can't rely on infantry to do it. Like, double reinforced
They have to bring
infantry.
some cav, I guess. He said, I think it's not to bring something, right? He said to bring, like, either River Blades that do their shenanigans.
It'll be River Blades for sure. Yeah. But what I'm saying is you can't overinvest in the Wardens, right? Like, it's not going to be 3 units of 20. I'll be surprised if it's 2 units of 20. I think it'll be 20 Wardens and then other stuff. And those Wardens could be one of their hammers that they could send out. I think
Foxes, they just flash in Foxes for movement, mobility, and tactics.
Severeth for sure. Yeah, because he can't be shot, right?
Yeah.
But the other one, probably not.
Mm.
There's new spell lores, just bunk. It's just not very good looking, right? Like, the beam is kind of cool if you bring a bunch of Scenaries and you cast a bunch of spells. And yeah, I guess you can do, 6 plus D3 mortal wounds or whatever. It's cool, I guess. But not practical. Easy to stay out of 18 of wizards. Okay. I'm thinking...
Or just not be visible to wizards.
Yeah, that's another thing. It has to be visible to the wizards.
I was hoping that the Lumineth update would have been removed from match play, but that didn't happen.
The Stone Guard style is really not fun to play against. Where are we thinking for tiering? Low B? I don't think they're C.
B.
Yeah, I think there's
Definitely B.
All right. Let's keep going. Seraphon. So Seraphon just got straight up nerfed, right? Like, they just everything that they were doing is now more expensive, like 60 points more expensive, because they're the only army that has 3 different enhancements that cost 20 points, which is nuts. I don't think Realm Shaper should cost points.
I think they're the only army with a lore. No, Tzeentch got a lore charge.
Yeah, but there is a new build that will emerge, which will be the new Carnosaur, which is ridiculously good. I think that's my favorite thing out of this whole Scourge of Ghyran is the new Carnosaur. So good.
56 max damage for a 320 points.
53, but with crit hits.
Yeah.
It's so great. And then he brings any number of Stegodons, which I think will be good. And I'm very hesitant to say that, but I do think Stegodons will actually be good. Because they're so cheap now. 180 points for 14 health, 16 with Thunder.
Even if they're not, he's just a straight up better hero for the Agrodons than whatever the other
Scarvenom. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Like, I don't lose rage tokens? Yeah, of course. Sign me up.
Yeah. And I think Croak is basically gone now. The obscuring thing is too much.
I think Slann is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, Slann is better. Yeah.
The problem I have with Slann is you might not necessarily like. I hate the 4-up roll to revive stuff, and if you're bringing a Carnosaur, that's one less thing that you're going to be reviving. There's a certain number of units you need to include in your list to make the Slann's revive worthwhile, and if he's not reviving stuff, he's not worth playing, right? So it could be the case that they actually skip the Slann altogether and they just go into the Starseer and don't gamble on a 4-up reviving Aggrodons. Because he's still a 2-cast wizard, he removes wards. I think that would work. Because he also brings Kroxigor, so easy regiments there.
Yeah. You could bring a Starseer and like that priest that gives you auto wound, like bring a block of 6 Kroxigor, give him crit auto wounds.
Crit auto wound, yep. Yeah, I mean, they wound on 2s already, don't they? But auto wound's fine, I guess.
They hit on 4s though, that's why.
Yeah, so it's basically a +1 hit buff. Yeah.
+1 hit, yeah.
Yeah, and that still gives you 3 spells. It still gives you lots of control. And then if you start teching in monsters, Seraphon start to look good. I also want to talk about Ripperdactyls are great. People are using them. Maybe it's because you can't buy them, but they're good.
Yeah.
220 points for Rippers is a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, but that costs you $150.
Yeah. I can't believe Rippers and Pterodons are 3 health. That's a 50 mil base should not be 3 health. No matter what is on that base, it should be minimum 4 health. There's no justification for that. Okay, Spawn of Chotek has been I don't want to say trash, because it's not trash, but it's been a bad model since it was released. Salamanders were god tier, and the Spawn of Chotek is paying for the sins of its ancestors. It doesn't know why it's suffering as much as it is, but it is, and life is just difficult. But now it's finally cheap enough that I think it's playable. Because you can bring 3 or 4 of these things, and these can be like your Alopexes. You send them out on objectives, and you don't care what happens to them, because they're so cheap. And when they're sitting on an objective in the back, and you got 3 of them shooting the glob of acid, one of them's probably going to get through, and then that also gives you -1 rend, an additional rend in combat effectively. So they're cheap enough now that they're finally good, but they're not good.
Yeah.
It's just because they're so cheap that they become playable.
Yeah.
And they are skink beasts, and guess who takes a lot of skink beasts in their regiment? Hey, it's the Starseer. Just another reason you don't need the Slann in your army anymore. So that's where I'm leaning with Seraphon, is Carnosaur, Starseer, and then, some mix of monsters, Aggrodons, Kroxigors, and stuff like that.
Also like this Slann, because I don't have to move him too far. I can move the Skink Priest stuff and then Vassal Cast because that other lore is playable. The one that increases your rend instead of...
it also gives you basically super rally. Like, monsters using that ability are so tough. 16 health on a Stegodon, with reducing enemy rend by 1, and then eventually it gets crit 2 hits on all of its attacks. But that Light of Chotek on it is like super rally that doesn't cost command points. It's really good.
I will say, it looks like Seraphon did eat a heavy tax. Like, everything that they brought, like, their list just went up 80 just from, not even from units, just all the enhancements and terrain.
Manifestation
that they crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the spellcasting stuff looks a lot more difficult to utilize. Like, Croaks Land are tougher, but I think the pivot is into the new Carnosaur. Praise be, the new Carnosaur is so good. So happy with it. This is how it should have always been. It should always be a big slappy monster.
Yeah.
I have 6 Lost Strikes just foaming at the mouth when I see that in a list.
Wait until they make it ethereal, and then they just heal D3.
And heal D3 every yeah. I mean, you give up Beastmaster to do the heal. Or no, you give up Beastmaster to do the ethereal.
Yes.
But it's probably worth it. It's probably worth it.
Well, because you can use the battle trait to give them +2 to move. That's good enough, I think.
Yeah, but do you want that? You usually want, when you're playing him especially, and you're bringing other beasts, you probably want the -1 rend, and then when you get your second Astro...
Ethereal, I don't care.
Yeah, but the rest of your army does.
Yeah, but he's the missile, right? He we used to say distraction Khorne effects. He's not a distraction. He's a 53 damage Carnosaur.
I just imagine him as like the ultimate flanker. He just doesn't take enough damage to die, kills everything that gets near him. I don't see him as the Karazai of this army,
Sure, but like they can't ignore him either.
That's true. All right, in terms of tiering, where do we think Seraphon are going to land? At least B,
A.
Right? B or A is the question.
I feel A. It feels like an A army.
It feels lower A than the other 3 so far, though, right? Daughters.
What they do fundamentally just got 60 points more expensive, but it didn't actually fundamentally nerf the army.
They still
You know
do
what I
the
mean?
same
Like,
thing. It's just less efficient.
yeah, they do the same thing. It's just they're 60 points less, and they can shift that around. All they need to do
Yep.
is take one less Hunters of Launch or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the Croak thing is gone, right? So it's not doing the same thing. But honestly, I think Croak was a trap. I think Croak's too expensive for what he does.
Right.
That's just my take. There is no B in Carnosaur. Good point. Good point. All right. More Seraphon. Stormcast. It's really hard to tell how good we're going to be when we got the Legends rotation and none of our hammers really went down in points, right? Like, I guess Night Judicator, Tempesters did. Stormdrakes look really good. Vanguard Paladors with Javelins still look very good, despite the obscuring. They feel like a really good unit still. I think we look about as good as we did before. Maybe even a little bit better now with the Stormdrake recycling, which is a really, really, really nasty trick. I think we're an A tier.
It's still A. Yeah, it's still A tier.
Yeah.
I think also, such a deep bench that even nerfing shooting doesn't, do too much.
Teleport shooting is still good. Yeah.
And
I wish long strikes had gone down 10. Like, I feel like most shooters took a decrease based on the new terrain rules, but we didn't.
Sorry, John, what were you saying?
We just finished a season where every army was able to bring, like +1 to rend, like an anti-something. And that, I think, really helps when you're going up against an army like Stormcast. So
True.
Without that being around, as we know, most things just have rend 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think our armor is going to be going a lot further.
I think so too.
We got real traits and artifacts now. It's not just take a void mirror shield and be done with my life, right? Like that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, they because they didn't even bother, right? They just copied the enhancements from last edition and like tweaked them a little bit. But now we have actual enhancements.
Yeah. Where do we think we rank up against the other two really good armies, Daughters and Idoneth? I think we're on par with them. Maybe better than Idoneth even.
I don't know if we're better than Idoneth yet, but I would say we can beat them. They're beatable.
Yeah, it feels like it doesn't feel unwinnable.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I feel like you can win those games.
What I mean is, in terms of tier list, do we think Idoneth are stronger as an army than Stormcast right now, or other way around, or about equal?
It's hard to tell. I would have to test a lot. This is not something I can say. I'm saying we're as strong, but I can't say we're stronger.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, moving on. Sylvaneth. So Sylvaneth are putting up results. Their win rate keeps increasing. And everybody's telling me that they're very good now. But I don't know why. I don't know the army well enough. So could one of you guys explain to me what makes Sylvaneth so good now?
I would also like to know.
Good time for an AFK. We'll come back to Sylvaneth then, because I'm clueless.
Sorry.
Do they like obscuring?
Oh no, it's like what they were doing previously was what? Beltanos and Larry. And Beltanos has that whole run and charge, and he just gives it to everyone.
Yeah.
Like there's no range on that thing, and it was basically an efficiency check. And now they basically, for those of you who play Magic, there's this card called Expropriate. You might have played it in Commander. It's like for 8 mana or 9 mana, I think. You get to do something like make your opponent choose between taking one of their permanents or giving them an extra turn. And now they have Drisha, which basically creates the whole Khorne's Blood Slick Ground. Back from like 3rd edition for the Demon Prince.
Oh, the minus.
And she says, the minus dice. I'll change one of your dice to a 1 for your charge, or I'll give you a -1 to hit. You pick one of them.
I don't like that. Good. I don't like that.
It's good. Yeah, Khorne's Blood Slick Ground is back, maybe, and it was the most annoying shit in 3rd edition.
So it sounds like they're doing a hard pivot from the current style. So whatever Sylvaneth were doing before, they're going to be doing something different now.
Were they monsters? Were like Beltanos and all though? Like the main 3 big guys were all monsters? Okay, so I guess that's a little bit of a nerf, right? Because they can't hide that stuff anymore.
They didn't matter. Most of them had 5 up boards and like 3 up saves. Like it's like whatever. It's like if you could kill them, you kill them. If you can't kill them, it's because Sylvaneth everything is running and charging is in your face. And especially with the new bugs, like the new Seekers they got, their flying cavalry became a lot more damaging. And I think they're that flying medic cav they have, I think they're called Revenant Seekers, I can't remember what they're called. But those guys are effectively now Chaos Sorcerer Lords. They give out on a 3-up, they give you 5 up boards.
Okay. Yeah,
Pretty
the
good.
damage output of Seekers is really good too. The new War Scrolls are very strong. One problem Sylvaneth's always had historically has been low max damage units. Remember a comparison between Grandhammers and Kurnoths with Scythes, and we always made that joke that like look at what they have to do to imitate a fraction of our power. If they have to reinforce Kurnoths to do the damage of 3 Grandhammers, it's like, oh, that's sad. And Kurnoth bows are just, they've never been. There was a period in first and second edition where Kurnoth bows seemed like they were good, but they've actually never been good, right? They've just never been a good unit. But they always have to pay for that 5 health, like how we have to pay for 3-up saves. They pay for that 5 health, and that's unfortunate. But Seekers are amazing, and Drycha seems broken.
Giving Lancers 5-up ward, giving Tree Lords a 5-up ward, good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff all around.
Good reason to bring shooting. You could shoot both of those units. Yeah. Okay,
I mean, Bloodslick round, Bloodslick Dance's House is Drycha fixes the damage kind of their new spell. Yeah, that's true. You know what's also good? Not anything being not being able to kill you or charge you. Like, that's crazy. If destruction fights you, you literally say, "Hey, do you want to charge me, or do you want to be hitting on 5s? What do you want to do?"
Yep, I played against that new Gitz special character, the one riding the wolf, and he's got that cool ability. Everything within 6 inches has -1 hit and can't use all out attack, and that was devastating to Storm Drakes. They were hitting on 5s; they did no damage that turn. It was rough. And that's just destruction. Destruction is just that. It sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we thinking in terms of tiering for Sylvaneth then? It sounds like they're another A tier.
I think A. Yeah, A tier.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I think you're making it sound like they're better than Seraphon, but that's just because I don't know what Seraphon's going to do exactly.
Well, nobody knows what Sylvaneth does either because people don't bring them enough. But I think the ones who play this, it's also a thing of like the people who play them are dedicated to them, and it's like cities, like only a few like very high skilled players play them.
Fair enough. All right, Khorne.
A.
Yeah, it's like not even like
they were
A before.
I can't wait for the book.
I don't think they're gonna do anything. Like none of their new stuff blew me away, from what I recall. Like the Mighty Lord of Khorne was okay. The new Blood Crushers were like, yeah, it's an improvement, but does it really matter? Is it enough?
It gives them more options, but the core of what they do, which is they take like something like Blood Warriors, buff the shit out of it, and then murder lust into you.
Yeah, the new stuff
just as good.
Basically doesn't matter. Now they just do the old stuff, but with obscuring.
Yeah, essentially. We just gave Khorne a buff for whatever crazy reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so A tier.
A tier.
Yeah, nice and simple. Bam, done.
But which kind of sucks because like it means like the Johnnies get a bit more out of the army because they can get more options with Mighty Lord of Khorne, Skull Crushers or whatever. But realistically, what they were doing, they just got better at.
Every 4-1 list you see or 5-0 on Khorne list is going to still be 15 Wrathmongers and 40 Blood Warriors, and then heroes.
Yes.
Like that's gonna be the core.
Their flex spots are like 5 Wrathmongers and that Bloodthirster they bring. They could like take other options in those areas, but the 40 Warriors and at least 2 Wrathmonger core is still S tier.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
Okay.
And I will say that new 40k side of the World Eaters or whatever. That's like the Khorne side of 40k. Is that right? Some of those models, like you could absolutely.
Oh yeah, you could just literally buy 40k, or actually,
and they're
better for them to buy AOS models. Yeah.
Yeah, either way, but they're so dope.
Exalted 8-bound are so expensive. I've seen people buy like Skull Reapers to turn them into Exalted 8-bound.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. How about Tzeentch? Obviously, Kairos is the big thing everybody's talking about because you can score easy tactics and then swap your card to another easy tactic. So it feels like if you're playing Kairos, you're just starting the game up 5 to 10 victory points over your opponent. How good is the rest of the army, though? And how good is Kairos in that army? My suspicion is that because their flamers are shooters, they can't really do the whole shooting thing. They can get shot back, and then obscuring really hurts their damage output. But is their new melee stuff that good? I think Kyric Acolytes are big slappers now, right?
Yeah, they just have to pivot into the birds. Like you can't just play this like super double chicken list anymore. Like you actually have to bring some type of melee. I heard what are they called? Not the Skyfires, but the other ones.
Enlightened on disc.
Yeah, I think you'll see some of those. They still seem pretty decent, even though they have fly, but they'll still score tactics and they could hit pretty hard. And then Kairos just gives you 5 free points. You start off the game 5-0 with Kairos.
Yeah, exactly. I think they'll
Unless
figure it out. I think
we
they'll
kill
be
him
playing
first.
tricks the whole game.
Oh yeah, if Kairos is like even like an inch out of not being able to be blocked from long strikes, like he dies turn 1. I don't care. I got my 400 points back.
Yep. That's a big trade for us too, because he's a lot of spell casting power.
But I don't think Tzeentch drops hard. I think it's still like a B tier army. I think they just have to play a different game.
At least B, let's say. I think you put it in the right hands, that's one of those armies that always just, skyrockets into being amazing in the right player's hands. So I'm going to put him in B tier, at least. Yeah. Sounds good. Okay. Hedonites of Slaanesh. So the obscuring thing completely kills this army, right? Like the way it was playing before, shooting Blissbarb spam, that's just not going to be a thing anymore. They can't do that.
So I don't know. Have they gotten cheap enough where they could go back to just spamming a bunch of demons and mortals and just be like, here's 200 wounds. Please deal with this?
I don't know what they're going to pivot into, honestly. Nobody owns chariots because they can never be in stock and the models are old, so nobody wants to buy them. So they keep buffing stuff in this chariot section and the chariot heroes, and nobody ever plays it. So it's hard to know how good that stuff is. Demonettes are good. They pump damage, right? But I have no idea how this army's going to pivot. This is a wild card for me.
Laron, if you're in the chat or watching this, please put in the comments what you're pivoting to as far as Slaanesh goes. I myself have no idea. I know he likes playing Glutos a lot, so that's going to be a staple.
Glutos does seem good. He's not a monster, so he can get obscuring.
9-year-old said, bit off topic right now, but which direct guard is better? It's Concussors and Tempestors right now. 9-year-old.
Yeah, Concussors for the Quicksilver Draft combo, and then Tempestors seem to be a very good shooting option as like a hybrid unit, like they weren't 3rd edition. They've finally gotten cheap enough, and I think I called them, like, if they were 170, they'd be playable, and I don't know, I'm going to go back and check what I said, because I think I said 170 specifically. But when they were 210, you had to compare Tempestors to other cavalry, because they were as expensive as other cavalry, and remember, this was back when Long Strikes launched at 170, and we had Castigators at 110, so it's like, well, compared to all the other shooting, Tempestors are just junk. Compared to Cavalry, they're junk, so they're just a junk unit, right? But now they're cheap enough that we can compare them to 200-point Long Strikes, and when you make that comparison, well, Tempestors start to look pretty good for their cost.
I wonder if they pivot more to their cav. Like, you bring 1 unit archers, but you bring, like, a bunch of sick blades.
The new ones? Or, sorry, the melee ones? Yeah.
Yeah.
They were good. Every time I played against them last season, they felt like a good unit that was being underutilized. We'll see. How do we want to rank it for now, then? Just don't rank it? Like, we don't know?
I'm okay with B. B is like what I would say, like a solid 3-2 army. Like, can they go 3-2? I think they have the tools to go 3-2. I think good players can go 4-1, and then maybe with quite a bit of luck, they can go 5-0. But time will tell. B tier is like what I put stuff that I'm not sure. Like, if I think it's a good enough army where it's not like severely hampered by a lack of a good roster and good rules, I would say they were like C tier. But I think B is where they belong because they do seem like they have the appropriate tools to play a good game of Warhammer.
They felt A tier last season to me. Now, I don't know how they're going to pivot, so I think I can call them B. I'd be okay with that for this video. And then we'll see on the Realm Report how that shakes out, right? All right. Maggotkin of Nurgle. So the triple reinforced Blight King list, that's just dead. That doesn't work for battle tactics and battle plan purposes.
Do you know what I see them doing?
Flies?
Not flies. The Flesh Eater Courts Regiment Arena that came out over Christmas.
Really?
For tactics. Yeah.
Okay.
That's like Wargulf Courtier and like 3 more big knights or something.
Maybe beasts too, right? Because they're kind of quick. You don't care that they're control 1. They're just like, they need to just move up the board.
Yeah, any body on an objective is all you need. You need disposable stuff. I could see that. I am tempted to not be that favorable towards Nurgle. I think they're like low B, maybe high C. But that's super biased because Stormcast into Nurgle has always been such an easy matchup for me. They're so slow, and we can just pick and choose our targets. We can just hold back 2 turns even if we wanted to. Like, they don't really have anything to stop us from doing what we want to do. It's just a matter of dice rolls and focusing fire, and yeah, they don't feel great to me every time I play against them.
Feels like a C tier army now. I think Radagast buff is nice, but I feel like it's going to be such a trap for a lot of Nurgle players that, like, yeah, you need the movement, so you have to take them, but then your list starts at, like, 1600.
The problem with Radagast is the battle plans require spreading out your army, or, like, splitting it into halves, and what Radagast wants to do is he wants to be the middle of a Death Star, and everything around him does all the damage, right? But when it's only half the army, he's only buffing half of your army, he's not that good, because he's also so expensive and so slow.
Well, he has a 12-inch aura. So, like, it reaches farther than you think it would, because all it has to do is touch one model.
Yeah.
And it's reducing your save by 1 for their.
But if he's on one side of the board, like if he's on a flank somewhere, that's
no.
not.
He has to commit. He has to be within the center, like moving.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Which is very limiting for an army that doesn't have good moves. When your big centerpiece has to be in the middle of the board. Yeah, I'm gonna call them C. I don't know. Chat, are we off on this one? Are we missing something with Nurgle? It doesn't seem like anybody here is.
You're looking at it from a Stormcast perspective,
yes,
with high mobility and the capability to dance around them. I think there's a lot of armies, even builds in Stormcast, I would say, that cannot necessarily dance around them. Like if they're fighting Fyreslayers have to meet them at some time on their own terms. Yeah.
Like what we could ask is how do they fare into the armies we think are going to be A tier, right? Like Idoneth, Daughters, Blades, Cities, Seraphon, Sylvaneth. How do they have a matchup against Nurgle? If they have a favorable matchup, then I think Nurgle goes to bottom of B, top of C kind of thing.
I'm interested to see if Idoneth has the damage to chew through Nurgle. Because Nurgle is extraordinarily tough against, because I don't have a lot of ways to reduce wards.
No.
So they come in and they have a lot of -1 Ren. So against 3 up saves, 5 up wards, Idoneth could struggle. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, no extra Rend, so they're stuck with just a -1 against them.
Maybe they don't have enough damage to get through it.
Actually, maybe 4 sharks with the anti-monster missile weapon instead of the anti-cavalry missile weapon. Maybe that could work.
That could work, yeah. MacTech in the chat says outside of Stormcast they are B. I can buy it. Like when I play against them, they feel like a C tier army, but that's totally biased, right? Because not every army plays like Stormcast. Kyle says Gutrot Spume is kind of interesting, and the priest abilities kind of help. Yeah, the priest stuff is really cool. The +2 move prayer is really neat, and you have just an enhancement to turn any character into a priest, which is really cool. I sure wish that would be spread around the game a bit more. That's a cool ability. I don't know. Yeah, I think I can move them up to B, but not like it'll have to be bottom of B kind of thing. Like they don't feel as gutted as Kharadron feel this season. Brandon says watching late, but
should remind our audience. It should remind our audience we grade these armies from how much difficulty we would have facing them as Stormcast, and I feel like that's not necessarily always fair because armies have good matchups and bad matchups, and we're just like a bad matchup for Nurgle. But that doesn't mean they don't have excellent matchups into a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, our Stormcast's best matchup is a slow melee army. That is like you love to see that across the table every single game. Our worst matchup is a highly mobile
direct confrontation. Like Sylvaneth is a very direct confrontation army. Like I feel like Nurgle could play an attrition game with Sylvaneth, even though they're very fast and they do teleport, or at least their heroes teleport now.
Brandon says watching late, but aren't Judicators being retired? Regular Judicators are. We have been talking about Night Judicators. Going forward, I think it's just easier to say Judicators instead of clarifying that they're Knights every single time. It's a lot of unnecessary words. And that I've spent explaining this sentence, this whole thing. Okay.
Why say more word when less do?
Exactly. All right, Skaven. The point nerfs on Skaven are tremendous. Good God, did they ever just get a ton of points added to almost every list? Except for the shooting spam stuff, which has been also nerfed by obscuring. So Skaven's going to pivot into not shooting spam. Totally new Skaven lists that we've never seen before are going to come out of the woodwork.
I still think they do what we do. Like they bring like 6 rattlings, right?
They
don't bring the 2x6, right? Like just like 6 rattlings, just get your shooting in there so you can do something.
Thing is, okay, I don't think their shooting's dead because the way they won previously was their shooting already couldn't be seen. Their weapons teams already have rules that like obscure visibility. they just shoot when you come close to kill their chaff. And you have to, because they just fill up the board with like clan rats, like 60 of them. Or like more even. I think their main threat is going to come from stuff like war machines now. Previously, you could evade warp lightning cannons and just never touch them and shoot them back. Now, warp lightning cannons can hide and still shoot, and they have like 20-inch range or something. So which means 10 if they're scared.
But we can also
it means
hide,
that
right?
Gracier. Yeah, we can, but we have to come forward and hit their chaff. That's when they shoot us.
Unless we have guarded hero.
Sure. But then you also have Graciers on Screaming Bells, and they are excellent buff pieces. Like that new War Scroll is actually
it's a cool
good.
War Scroll.
And you can't shoot war machines.
I want to see them pivot into like all war machines. Those like rolling balls they have, those wheels.
They might.
Those are hilarious. I want to see that stuff.
Stuff like Rat Ogres became a lot more playable because previously those guys would just get shot off the board. Like it's not even a question. Like they have no defense.
Rat Ogres still just die, but they're high damage now, which is nice, and they get the +1 hit from
and Storm Fiends can hide now. They're pretty high damage. They already were pretty high damage. They can hide. So I think that book gets a lot more boost. Now the thing about Skaven is it has always been a high skill ceiling army.
Super high skill.
It gets played by a lot of Timmies. I don't mean this in a derogatory sense, but the idea of Ratman is such a cool and funny idea that a lot of like players who get it in for the flavor, but they cannot get the most out of the army's abilities. But the army is a very high skill ceiling army, and it really rewards like people who are really precise with their movement, and that's always been true, and that's not going to be untrue now.
Yeah. I think what makes Skaven so good is the movement tricks. Like it allows them to play low top of 1, and they just like retreat basically and as soon as the enemy hero phase happens. Like you can't engage Skaven on your terms for the most part. You have to engage them on their terms. And the fact that they can pop up a Gnawhole and revive a unit on top of an objective, because a lot of objectives in this season have or are within 6 inches of the table edge. So there's a lot of potential there. I think they're going to score well. Really good players are going to do really well with Skaven. So I think that makes it an A-tier army, right?
Yeah, Skaven still feel airy.
Their win rate will not reflect how good the army is.
No, they had the Stormcast problem. It's just they're because of the 4th edition box, or like a lot of beginners have them, but everyone who's been playing Skaven for a while know how insane they are.
It's like Khorne. Khorne has a 49% win rate, but there's a valley of difference between people who buy Khorne to play it like Ironjawz and then people who know how to play Khorne.
It's very like what MacTac in the chat's saying. Lots of movement, easy to move from obscuring piece to obscuring piece. Yeah, you can park your units outside of obscuring, shoot at full range, and then 3 claw steps ahead to move back into obscuring. It's very good.
Yeah,
it's not as good as teleport shooting, but it is very good.
I mean, they have some teleports, like limited. They do have teleport options. It's limited, but
yeah,
for a Horde army to have that has good offense, good mobility, out of phase movement is I almost want to collect a Skaven army. I just hate painting Horde armies. It's just annoying.
They're also weirdly detailed. There's lots of different textures and different stuff layered on top of stuff. Yeah,
it's Cities of Sigmar. It's like the Cities of Sigmar problem.
Yeah, not fun to paint. Yeah. Slaves to Darkness. They're just dead, right? Like C tier maybe.
Yeah.
The Chosen Vanguard perks aren't going to work.
No.
Be'lakor requires a visible enemy, which is just killing Dark Master. Like good players will just not get Dark Mastered anymore.
Yes, or the important piece won't, because the way they won games was they let you go first, then they go. Let's say you survive the Vanguard or Chosen hit, then it's your turn. They take your whatever top hammer is, and they say, nope, you're not attacking me at all this turn.
Yeah.
And that's how they win. And now if you can hide your top hammer, you live, and you get to kill them back.
It also mattered a lot more when we were in the 2-2-2 meta, right, where people were running big reinforced units. But if people are running smaller units, and Bellacor's choices are like, well, I can't pick the reinforced unit, it's in cover, so I guess I'll pick 6 Questers, the Dark Master, like a 200-point unit.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. And their but the thing about them is, though, you have to realize at the end of the day, they are an armor 3+ save. I can brawl with you army, and that is a weakness still. I mean, I know a lot of armies in this new Soggy season got a lot of new War Scrolls and enhancements to help with that sort of thing. But ultimately, they are a high armor, high offense army if you get into a brawl with them. That's always going to be good. Now, how they pivot, maybe they drop Be'lakor entirely and they start taking big blocks of warriors that just stand on objectives. Kind of tough.
I really like.
Just
go on.
There's a certain value that a 3-up, say, a 5-up board has that cannot put them below B tier, in my opinion. A Sorcerer Lord giving out a 5-up board to Vanguard Chosen is still damn good.
When they don't get the 1/2 double, like we were discussing earlier on the podcast, the 1/2 double is much, much weaker. That was a big portion of Slave wins, was I got the double while I had Chosen and Vanguard in range. Therefore, I win. And that's just not going to happen nearly as much as it used to. So they have to pivot away from that style. That's not going to be a reliable enough way to win games anymore. And I don't know what the new thing is going to be.
I've been seeing one brick, like your 6 Vanguard, 10 Chosen, and then they're actually playing 2-drop game now. So they'll bring your heroes. I've been seeing a lot of Braxia with like 2x5 Knights. So like they're running like this, like they're breaking up their 2-2-2. They're finally at the new season. It has made them break up their 2-2-2. I don't think they would have if we didn't get all this obscuring, all these change to tactics and everything. And the biggest one to change to the double. I think that's what puts the nail in the Slaves to Darkness coffin. Just play 2-drops, and if you play another 2-drop, you could probably fish for a double, but you have to play a more tactical game now.
I will say there's good units in the book that have been overlooked for a very long time. The Chaos Chariot is now 70 points, and that thing takes up a ton of space, and it's 7 health, which means you actually have to put real damage into getting rid of it. So if you just... It's very easy to bring like 4 of these things. That's only 280 points, right? And you can score every tactic. You can have very low commitment turns. 70 points for a fast chaff unit is very good. It is way better than people think in terms of like tactical play. The Chariot's a great unit. Do we think people might pivot into Dark Oath? There's no way that happens, right? That's just not good.
No. It's like you're asking for them to paint a bunch of Dark Oath, and it's a very high skill ceiling army. It's not easy as running Splinter Fang was,
True.
So
what about the Ogroids? Are those worth playing?
They
do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
It's just delivery is a lot harder because they nerfed the banner. I think was it Banner Slaanesh?
Yeah, it was a banner.
I am very tempted to give this army C tier. I think strategically they look very limited. The direct nerfs to the army rules with the banner, the indirect nerfs with obscuring on Be'lakor, the indirect nerfs on the battle plan design, the indirect nerfs on battle tactics not requiring enemy units going out, the indirect nerfs from not getting the double turn as reliably as they used to, because if your opponent has more regiments they can re-roll and oh, I moved up and I'm about to double you, haha, turns out my opponent re-rolled it and now I actually lose the game because I got hit first, right? And I can't recover from that. So I am very tempted to give them C tier.
It's insane that Be'lakor actually has to be like part of the game now. He can't just be on your backboard and like tag something with Puppet Master anymore. I think that's gonna be a bigger blow than most people realize. Because you could actually now probably kill depending on your list, probably kill Be'lakor before he actually gets a Puppet Master. They actually have to protect him.
If I knew more about how they were pivoting, I would be more inclined to put them in B tier. I just don't see it. Slaves has been so one-dimensional for so long, aside from the Ravager Splintered Fang days. Otherwise, it's just been, run you over with 3+ saves, and it just strategically is not a good way to play.
Also, hear me out. With all this obscuring, is there a way they could pivot into not Be'lakor, but Sorcerer Lords, and then the Tzeentch summoning things out of the mountain? Tower, sorry.
Doesn't the Gaunt Summoner fly because he's on a disc?
I think there's a foot. No, you can do the foot one. You can do the foot one. There's a foot one, and then there's chariot one.
Yeah. Gaunt Summoner on Disco Tzeentch. I don't think Gaunt Summoner on Disco Tzeentch has a silver tower, does he? Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah. There is still the foot one though, right?
Yeah, there is a foot. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And they both have Silver Tower. So maybe?
There's also something, yeah, they can, because they have this, I don't know if you saw, Chaos Lord on Karkadrak got cheaper. He's like 10 wounds on a 3-up save. He has a 9-inch move. And he has the once per battle ability where he picks him +2 to charge for himself and 2 other calories.
You give that to Chaos Knights, Tzeentch Mark out of a Silver Tower. Do you need Tzeentch Mark for Silver Tower? No, you don't. You can be any mark.
No, you don't. You can. That's what the meme was. Vince Venturella would joke about how there's a Slaanesh rave going on in a Tzeentch Tower.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Like the tower bring the trap with a Karkadrak Lord giving +2 charge. I could see that being a pivot.
Yeah.
Abraxia looks really good too.
It still
looks
It still just hits screens and dies after. Like it can't retreat and charge, it can't teleport out of combat. I guess you could with Tzeentch Mark, right?
Well, I mean, she just powers through.
I mean Tzeentch Mark lets you teleport out of combat, right?
Yeah. But I think she's undivided. I don't think you could do that.
I'm saying Tzeentch Mark, a block of Chosen Knights. I think not Chosen, Chaos Knights. I think Chaos Knights might be the pivot. Just mass amounts of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you could use the Battlescroll is almost 500 points now. You could use the points elsewhere.
Don't the Chaos Knights get a 5-up ward when they're on objectives? Is that them?
No. I think you're thinking of the Sorcerer Lord that gives it out on 3-up.
Yeah, because they can be tanky if they can get a ward going.
Yeah, their only problem is retreat and charge.
I didn't know.
Retreat and charge. They would need something like Forbidden Power or something.
Forbidden Power is good. Tzeentch Mark is good. I think that could be the pivot, and that could be a B tier army. But unless people figure that out, and I need to see it actually work, because even then they still just hit screens. Like they don't have the shooting power, they don't have flying, so it's like a cool army, but I don't know how good it is. I don't know. Am I crazy putting them in C? Am I way off base? Like you said, they were B tier, but I feel C is more appropriate.
I honestly think, like, based on where we're at in this GHB and where they were before, I personally would say B.
Okay. How about you, David?
Maybe B-.
Might not be there. Okay. All right. Well, I'm outvoted, so B- it is. All right, then. Moving on. Flesh Eater Courts. Flesh Eater Courts got really good stuff focused on monsters, and I'm very excited to play monsters, and I have no idea how good the monster stuff's going to be at all. But when you look at it, it looks super fun and strong enough that you're like, oh, okay, I'm not like running a stupid list. I'm doing something relatively competitive, even though it has no interaction with the deed system. I'm never going to revive them, never going to heal them, but it's still fun, and that's what matters. Unfortunately, nobody will ever play it because nobody wants to buy the old Terrorgeist and Zombie Dragons, so it's a completely dead section of the army now.
Yeah, until they replace those models, I'd be very nervous about picking up any monsters. Now, I know what you said about picking up old monsters for future games, but like, I don't like those models very much. Like, I think like the new Revenant Draconid looks way sexier in my opinion.
Oh, that's great.
If something along those lines, comes up for the Terrorgeist, I'm definitely a buyer. But in the meantime, what they were doing is still good. Like, Lashoran, 12 more bigs is still an amazing list. If anything, they just got more options. And the Gore Warden in this new season is, like, bonkers good. End of turn, you teleport. That's crazy.
And there's less shooting this season. People will not bring, except for Stormcast, people will bring less shooting in general. So even though they can be shot, it actually ends up being a benefit because there's less shooting overall, which is one of their biggest weaknesses, is just getting shot off. They don't take trades when they get shot.
Well, also, they have one of the best recursions in the game, both model and unit recursion. So unless you like completely wipe them, they don't care that much. They can revive pretty easily.
Crypt Flayers are getting so cheap, I can't help but try to make them work. They can do so much. They can do so much damage. I wish Deranged Transformation worked on shooting, so they could be on 3s and 2s ultimately, but it's unfortunate. Best you can do is 3s.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where did Flesh Eaters finish off last season? Low A tier, maybe. They started to get outclassed.
Yeah, they were still A. I still feel like they might be low A
because they did get nerfed a little bit. But I was saying they were S, and we were like, how are they S? They don't have any saves. Turns out Lashoran is really good against like most armies out there.
They definitely dropped off. They were not S tier last season. They were an A tier army, I think. They weren't overpowered anymore.
I mean, they won LVO. I mean, I think so they're out there.
Yeah, But that's
And
yeah.
the thing is, I think they got 3. I want to say they got 3 lists into the top 8 of LVO, or 2. Like one was the 80 Crypt Cool build, one was the 12 Morbeg build. If 2 different builds are making into your top 8, you are a good army. You are a really good army.
Yeah, I think they are good for sure. I wouldn't put them anywhere below A. That's for sure. Contender for S, I don't know. I feel like Daughters and Khorne would probably get there first.
Maybe. Daughters definitely has the volume to take them out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, easy.
Mm-hmm.
And Stormcast has the shooting, so I think that's a pretty good matchup for us if we do it right.
Yes. Yeah. The
Okay.
thing I do like about Flesh Eater Courts is that new Crypt Cool battalion or battle formation. That's like
Oh, no pylons?
for one command point, it shuts off pylons when you charge them. I think
Yeah.
that's really good. There's a lot of armies really
Yeah.
good against.
Oh god, imagine getting hit by that when you're slaves. Like that's just so
Yeah.
bad for Slaves to Darkness. Good lord.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, A tier is fine. Somewhere arbitrarily placed in the middle of A tier. All right, moving on. Nighthaunt. They
Oh.
got good stuff. Scourge
Yeah.
of Gyran was
Oh,
very
yeah.
good to them.
Yeah.
Black Coach is sick. The new Kurdos looks pretty good too. And that's about the extent of it. So how good was Nighthaunt at the end? And then how good is it when we add in the new Black Coach into it?
And add in new
Well,
Morbid,
Madigan-
because they don't care about the
Yeah.
Rend debuff.
True.
So Madigan said this is like Nighthaunt is like one of those armies where like it was the first broken army, I feel like, of 4th edition.
Mhm.
And so it left like a lasting impression where people kept thinking it was broken, but it did actually get nerfed enough to where it wasn't relevant anymore. Especially as like we pivoted into castigators and like more tools came out. I think like this gives them a really strong boost. It gives them a centerpiece model that is really good. It gives them an anvil, like a proper anvil unit. Like Kurdos next to a Lord Executioner surrounded by 6 spirit hosts is actually a pretty good anvil. And then they can use their mobility, their Death Stalkers or Death Rust, to sort of do the rest. The Cursed Sepulchre Terrain Edition that moves and
Oh yeah.
teleports and gives them recursion has been amazing for them for a mostly one wound army that was previously relying on rally to get models back.
Yeah, that recursion is really good. End of turn recursion is the best kind of recursion.
Yes. So I think these changes, push them, into A tier. Obviously, you have like some of these like really silly builds. Like I've been seeing some builds with like 16 Merman Banshees or 20 Merman Banshees, and then the one with like the 8 units of Parageist. So if anything, it basically makes the theme of that list is to make you make inefficient trades because you have to commit really hard to kill an 8 wound Nighthaunt unit that has Discorporated, and so they just like if you're ever contesting an objective, they just get to do like 73 mortal wounds a team.
You just got to put them
Yeah.
all in the same spot, right? So it's
Yeah.
tough this season when they're so spread out.
You just not gotta be within 6 inches of them. But if you are within 6 of them, because they can string out, they can contest an objective and string out their model so they're within 6 of you, and then they just do more wounds. That's the other build. So it's a little gimmicky, but I think their core build, stuff like 40 Blade Geists or 40 Grimghast Reapers with Kurdos, Black Coach, Reignor, I think that got a big boost. So I think it pushes. They were getting to low B. I think that pushes them back into low A, at least low A.
They feel high B, low A to me because they were falling off pretty hard last season. The new terrain didn't really get enough time to get any proper results. We don't know just how good it is. It feels very good. High B or low A? I don't know. What do you got?
I'm pretty sure their terrain, the Soulblight terrain doesn't do this, where their terrain has a 5 ward, so you
Yes.
can't easily destroy it either.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Corbs and David, what do you guys think? Low A or high B?
Man, I still feel low A. I don't. There's been a bunch of talk locally, at least in my meta, that like people that like had Nighthaunt are going to start breaking out Nighthaunt. Like they think there's a lot of spice there. They don't care about the obscuring. Like there's definitely something there. I think we'll start seeing them rise in the win percentage. Definitely. I think they're low A. I think there's a lot of tech there that somebody like John Anderson is going to go 5-0 with.
Also, it turns off commands, guys. The terrain
Yeah.
turns off commands. So
Yeah.
it acts like an anvil. If you position it behind your troops and they are within 3 of this terrain feature, they are not receiving commands.
Would you take the sub-faction that makes your terrain move just so you get that turn-off command thing?
No. No. I think the two that have play... Well, I think... the new black coach I like because it cannot be spammed. All of his abilities are once per turn army.
Yep.
But I think the two that have play are Deathstalkers, obviously, because run and charge on one unit is always good. But Death Rust. Death Rust because Nighthaunt gets stuck in a lot of combats, and until they retreat and charge on their turn, they're not doing any real damage.
Yeah.
Because when you're fighting them on your turn, when they're fighting you on your turn, just stuck in combat, they're not doing anything. But now they get to reduce your save if they're in combat with you in your hero phase. So if you don't kill that unit, if you don't prioritize that killing that unit, it's going to hit you with a bunch of -2 rend attacks, possibly even -3.
I can see it. Yeah. Corbs, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, every time I play them, they're a challenge. The Ethereal is always there. It's always going to be there. And they just got a bunch of new tricks. So I think, yeah, I'd say A- for sure.
Okay.
Maybe they'll squeak even higher. Who knows?
Okay, right on. All right, let's talk next Death Army. It's going to be Ossiarch Bonereapers. I don't feel great for them. But it's mostly because I don't know where the damage comes from in this army. I know where the defense comes from, like Catacross 2-up save and give everything a 5-up ward, and they got good rend, but the damage output is just not high enough to deal with Daughters and other armies that are just going to have really high effective health. Just the unit count and the damage output of this army, I don't think is good enough. And add that together with the fact that this is the most spread season I think we've ever seen. And that's always been a really hard thing for Bonereapers to deal with. They really struggle. Like when it's middle scrum, they love that season. But with them, when it's teleport spread out time, they do not have a good time.
I still think Catacross is just bonkers. He's gonna hide on a place of power or like the tiniest piece of leaf, and it's gonna tilt me.
Oh, the healing Catacross is gonna get from places of power is gonna be silly. We haven't even talked about that. Monsters and heroes are gonna love healing off places of power. It is a lot of healing every turn, not just your turn, both players' turn. It really adds up. And it's swingy, sometimes you heal 2, sometimes you deal 1. But you combine that with Rally, and you can start healing stuff up real good. So,
I think the biggest thing is they no longer will just bring like 5 units, right? Like, I think the intent of these changes was for them to bring, like, more of an army.
But what did they bring? Death Riders?
Yeah, I think they just pivot more into Death Riders.
How funny is it that the Harvester is now 150? It just keeps going down.
I don't know if that even makes it playable. Like, no. I feel like the Harvester has been this... They're trying to do so much to make it playable. They've introduced that new Mortec guard that picks a monster behind it and reduces rend once per phase against any incoming attacks.
Yep.
They have reduced it to 150, and it's people still probably will only take 1 maybe, and the other infantry option is just better because it's just not doing it does not feel like a monster. It feels like a very fragile support piece that you have to keep alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it should feel like a thundering monster. It should just have more wounds, man. That's what it should have. But
it's not big enough, unfortunately. The model is just physically too small for it to have anything.
It's not a Stormcast guard base.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the main problem. But the other stuff I think is really good. Soul Reaper is like, holy crap, like 90 points. A wizard hero for 90 points.
Yeah.
That has a -1 to wound. That's crazy. That's crazy good. Immortus Guard I never thought would drop down because they have a 3-up save and they go to 2-up with Catacross super easily.
Now they're 180. Them with +1 attack spell actually seems good.
And in combat phase, they add 1 to your ward rolls. So Catacross will be on a 4-up ward in the combat phase next to them.
I could definitely see like a solid mid block of Catacross and Immortus Guard, and then other stuff playing the flanks. Probably Death Riders.
Yes. And actually, speaking of other stuff playing the flanks, you could have... The thing is, Stalkers... I feel like they're trying to get to the critical mass point with Stalkers, where they reach a point value where you could just bring like 18 of them or 12 of them and not feel bad about it for the points per damage that you're getting. And the new sub-faction, Hekatos Drill Masters, effectively just gives them the Relentless Discipline ability outside of Catacross's range. So that's what they're trying to do, like you said. But I don't know if that makes them playable. I think we will still see like Immortus Guard, Cavalos, Death Rider lists.
What's that point value, do you think? Because I agree that there is a point value. I don't think 300 is that value.
No, I think 260. I think is that value.
I was gonna say 260. Yeah, because like I compare them to Shield Annihilators at 280. Shield Annihilators are obviously less health, like 9 against 12, but they're 2-up save, and they are 30 or not 30. Sorry, 20 max. Whereas Necropolis Stalkers are 12 max plus crit hits. Like it's crazy that these guys are 4 damage a model. 50 mil base that does 4 damage. That's
all their value is in the -1 to hit defensively or turning off wards offensively. But if you don't do any damage, what's the point of turning off?
Yeah, ward is just accuracy, right? Reducing wards is increasing your accuracy.
And it's not even reducing wards like in general. It's reducing wards just for its attacks.
Yes.
The -1 to hit is against it.
Yeah,
so
they can't play a support role.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's also not thematic for the unit. Like it's such a cool unit with 4 swords and 2 really big ones. And it's like,
and the 2 big ones don't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if they wanted to turn it into a glass cannon, like keep it fragile, but then pump up the damage.
Yeah. All right. So it doesn't sound. I don't know. I'm not too enthused about them. I think they're B tier at best. I don't think they're A.
No, I think they got some nice, cool options. I think people who take Mortec Guard and Gods of Harvesters and Crawlers in their list, they're not going to feel bad about it. Like you could take that list and feel okay. Like it does a thing, and you're not like you don't feel like, oh, I'm fighting against myself. Like Mortec Guard on Ethereal did not synergize with the army at all. Mm-hmm. These guys sort of do. Like, hey, I'm going to protect. Hilariously enough, you could protect Arkham against Rin if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
and
you can. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Like,
yeah, and the thing is, you could have a case where if you wanted to run an infant, like 2 blocks of single cavalry on the flanks for tactics, 1 block of Catacross plus Immortus Guard, 1 block of Soul Reaper plus Immortus Guard. Mm-hmm. 2-up save, -1 to wound. Soul Reaper has tandem fighting, I'm pretty sure. So Soul Mason could give them strike first for the turn if you can take a Soul Mason with them.
It's like a whole army right there. Like that's like 2,000 points. That's expensive.
Yeah, they're so elite. They're like, they're really Bonecast Eternals.
They wish they were Bonecast Eternals. That would be a good army.
The Crawler, in my opinion, is way too expensive still. Like it's such a huge artillery piece. It gets tied up so easily.
Yeah.
It's if I look at the Gitz artillery piece that's doing the whole reroll crap, or like the Iron Wall Great Cannons or what have you, these things are just so much cheaper. But for that 3-up strike blast that with the Oss Effector that you get for the Crawler, it's still above 200 points. Like it should be 200. Like
and
it started out at 260.
Crawlers are physically a very large model, and this is also a low unit count, low model count army. So you can't can't zone out people from getting to your Crawler. They do just get tied up all the time.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking, B or C?
I mean, I think it's like I think Dan or someone said it's like the curve bottom tables. He said that for Slaves in Darkness. I think that's true of Ossiarch. There's some armies that cannot get through Catacross, 4 Morghast Archaea, and 6 Immortus Guard on 2 of these.
I think this is better than Slaves. I think this does what Slaves does better. Like the middle 2-up save block, whatever. That just put something tough in the middle of the board. I think OBR does it better than Slaves.
2-up save, 5-up wards, and the thing is, if you brawl with them, they have that spell called the Bone Type Shrieker to turn off your ward, or sorry, reduce your wards by 1.
Mm-hmm.
That is an excellent spell to have. Right.
All right. Well, if Bone Reapers are Slaves but better, does that make Slaves C tier?
No, I think Bone Reapers are at the top of B tier.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the other armies, like it's low A, high B. Like you saw at Brewski, they were doing pretty well. Ossiarch Bone Reapers was in like the top.
Well, that list was the Arcan, Catacross, and 2 units of Morghast. That's all the list had. 4 units,
and it got cheaper. That list got cheaper.
How is that list gonna play objectives that are 45 inches apart?
You don't play. You just killed it. Then what are you talking about? You just come at them at a wall and you just kill them.
That's not an A-tier army. That is not an A-tier army. I'm sorry.
But it's high B tier. It's high B tier. Like they can like if they're fighting Nurgle, they have all the tools in the world. If they're fighting stuff like there's stuff like Idoneth, it's like sure Idoneth can shoot them, but that's the best they can do. But they will struggle into like tool-heavy armies like Daughters, Khorne, Sylvaneth.
Seraphon can get enough Ren to do it now.
Yeah, and it's like if Sylvaneth puts a ground against them. Like, oh, okay, it's over. Like,
Who wins, a Lord Commander of the Undead Army or a really angry Lizard?
Lizard every
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Turns out.
Lizard every time. Yeah.
Soulblight, new book. It's been long enough. We can actually talk about
Good
how
book.
they're doing competitively.
Good.
It's a good book, right?
Yeah,
very
it's
good.
solid. Yeah, it's solid.
Yeah. Like
the Vengorian Lord and the Wardry combo. The 2V. Vengaboys. You know, remember that band in the 90s? Vengaboys? Anyone?
oh god,
Nobody
yes.
remembers them?
I do.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I got people going.
I think they had a. Was it the Boom Boom Boom? Was that their song? I think it
Boom,
was.
boom,
so.
boom, I want
Yeah.
you in
Yeah,
my
yeah.
room.
Um,
We'll spend the
Yeah,
night
yeah, that was them.
together in my
Yeah,
room.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the Vengorian Lord and Wardry, the Venga Boys, is a very, very good list.
So
They
there was
have
a
insane healing.
there was a GT around my area. One of the Soulblight players brought 8 units of Askergan True Blades. 8.
Yeah.
That's a legit build. I've heard. Actually, I think
I've heard
Khorne was
minimum
talking about
3.
that. Like
heard
11
minimum 3.
units of Jugard.
Yeah. I've heard, like, if you surround Wardry and Venga Lord with minimum 3, they just slap. Not like you always get a strike last. It's not once per turn army. And if you don't kill the Venga Lord, because it's really hard to in melee, because he reduces 1 rend for anything in combat with him, they heal like 2d3, 3d3, 3 wounds. Like they can get back up to full really easily.
So I think Soulblight's good, but is it A tier good or is it like a B tier good army?
I think it's A tier good.
Yeah, I think it's low A. I think we're gonna start seeing Soulblight and some 4-1s.
I'm happy that they're good because they're actually interacting with their opponent and not specifically not interacting with them like they have in the past. And I hope that playstyle stays dead for this whole edition. And I hope Rob we'll know it's dead when we see that Rob hasn't posted a battle report on the server with Soulblight in months.
Also, like, the stuff that they have was good, got better. Like, Neferata with Blood Knights is still good. You know? Like, Neferata, Venga Lord, still good. Like, Venga Lord is just a way better gear than it used to be.
Yeah.
Barrow Knights and Beauregard are still good. Like, Graveguard were always good, they're better. Barrow Knights are just, like, a great symbol to have. Plus, they can be a hammer when needed. And Wardry is just insane. Like, 6-inch Filings every turn.
Very good.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good brawler.
Plus, he can get strike first on him with Quicksilver.
Yeah.
That spell that he has.
Okay.
And remember, all their vampires are +1 to cast, which means that counter casting is actually pretty decent.
I think A tier is fine. I don't think they're the higher end of A tier by any means. Maybe we should split this into
they're a contender.
like high A and low A. We should have 2 different tiers. We'll figure that out for the next stream.
Yeah,
We'll have a high A
but
tier and
it's
a
a
low
good
tier.
thing. But that's a good thing. Like, if we look at this distribution, so many armies. Have you ever had these many armies in A tier?
A lot of these really depend on player skill, which is a good thing, right? Like,
Sure.
if you were just looking at win rates, Stormcast and Skaven wouldn't be in the A tier. Blades of Khorne wouldn't be in the A tier. Cities wouldn't be in the A tier, right? But really good players piloting these armies take them to really high tournament results.
But they've also given them tools that are what we call A tier playstyle unlocking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I give you the I don't know, like the Sylvaneth tome, like, let's say pre-Soggy and pre-2 Battlescrolls, I don't think even A tier players could make a lot of it work. Rob, in my opinion, is a top tier player. He couldn't make Soulblight work. He was just so frustrated by it. And he tried like a bunch of things, but so they had to get some things to, unlock some tools in order for that to happen.
I hope it doesn't get unlocked. I hope they keep that lock on for the whole edition. It'll be nice to just get a break from zombies and direwolves and skeletons and fucking direwolves. I hate direwolves. Creator Gator in the chat asks, does obscuring block friendly line of sight for casting buffs onto ally units? No, you are only invisible to enemy units. So no issues there. Frankly, I think it should. That would probably be a really good downside to having all of this. I'm just invisible now, haha, and it's super easy to do. It would be cool if there was some kind of penalty to it, but there isn't. Not really. Which is, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, right? Maybe making shooting weaker is a good thing for the game overall.
It's a good beta test. That's what I see this season as. It's trying cool new things.
Oh no, are we in the beta test for 5th edition period already? I hope not.
I mean, I think every season is going to be. I think that's a good thing. They should try cool stuff that they can put into the next season.
Yeah.
Or next.
Yeah, I like how much things are changing. I think when I started when I started playing in third, I couldn't keep up with all the changes all the time. But in the last like 3 GHBs, like it's been really fun. I like that they're changing things.
Well, third was too quick because they had the half seasons. They had the 6-month seasons.
Right, that's
one
why.
year.
Yeah,
one
yeah,
year is the right amount of time. 1 year starts to drag a little bit at the end, but I prefer 1 year to 6 months.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good.
Yeah, the problem I have with doing an experimental season is that all of 4th edition will just feel like an experiment for 5th, and that's just like I'm gonna look back on this whole edition and be like, why didn't they should have just rushed 5th out the door, you know? It's just like
no, but
we're going through the motions.
Think of it this way. I look at it the opposite way. I look at it like there's stuff in the book that you could play, and there's stuff that you never played, but you really wanted to play. And I think seasonal rules like this, if they unlock that, I think that's good. Now, sure, it's an all for 5th, but like just don't look at it that way. Like your book used to play a certain way, enjoy that way of play. And if the seasonal rules just keep unlocking more ways for you to play and keep things fresh for your book, like we got the Stormcast book and the Ruination units sucked outside of like Prosecutors and Reclusians, I think. Right? Like none of the war scrolls were really like attractive. In my opinion.
Andor ended up feeling not experimental because nothing from Andor carried over. Right? Yeah. So it feels cool because it's like, oh well, nothing really carried over. And then if that's not the feeling though, if everything we're doing is just leading to the next edition, then in hindsight, all of this is just going to feel pretty bad. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know about that. I think they could make some changes permanent at the end of this year if they had to. Like, in my opinion, like I was feeling really bad that Irridan just got released, and Irridan was going to stay this way for the next 3 years.
Yeah, we gotta mention that in our review for the Scourge Irridans. Like, do not buy this model if you like the new rules, right? Buy this model because you like the model. The new rules are going away. They're not coming back.
Yeah. So unless they make that permanent, it's like I would never play Irridan in the next 3 years. I would never even buy her. Like I would buy her if someone was selling her for like half price, and then maybe like just.
I don't think they can make it permanent because it invalidates printed material, and that's I think this whole Scourge of Ghyran thing is an experiment to update printed material without actually updating printed material because they can't buff Mirror Shield, they can't buff enhancements, but they can make new ones.
They've updated printed material before. Our entire Stormdrake Guard War Scroll in the book was useless.
Yeah, I think they're trying to avoid it.
I
think they're trying to avoid it.
War Scroll is so bad.
It is.
I'd rather they do it.
Look, I agree, but this is Games Workshop we're talking about. I'm trying to, be realistic. Okay, let's talk Gitz because we've only got a few armies left and it's getting late. We always do this. Okay, Gitz. Okay. What are Gitz doing now with their book? I've only so far this season I've only played against Git Mob and it was like the chariots are not impressive. Trogs if Trogs don't get shot, do Trogs suddenly get as good as they were at the start of this edition? I don't see why not, right? Like the problem with Trogs is they lost the +1 save in shooting. So logically, if there's less shooting and if they can avoid it with obscuring, they should be as good as they were before.
There's better brawlers than them in the field now.
Okay.
Like, think of the armies that Trogs could give trouble to. Low damage armies that don't have any high damage options or an ability to turn off wards. If they're fighting Nurgle, Radagast can turn off wards for his attacks. If they're fighting Fyreslayers, Runesuns just do a crap ton more damage than they used to. If they're fighting Seraphon, Carnosaur just eats them. Starseer, yeah, Carnosaur just eats them alive. Armies just have a lot more options and a lot higher damage ceilings to deal with that sort of problem. Sylvaneth possibly could not deal with Trogs. I think with the combination of Drysh's buffs, with the Revenant Seekers, Lancers, what have you, I think they can. So I think that the Trogs were like a very simple army. It's a damage stat check, right? It's like Gargants, basically. It's like, can you do this much damage? If not, I'll beat you. I think that value of that goes down slightly. So I think all Trogs, like especially because people are playing that Army of Renown, the Trog Herd or whatever it's called. I don't think that playstyle is viable necessarily.
John, what do you think? You were queued up, ready to give your thoughts on Trogs.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember like the moon buff they get. It's -1 to your rend. Is that the thing that they have now?
I think it's +1 save in combat, or effectively +1 save in combat. I get
Yeah,
confused
+1
between
save.
editions.
+1 save in combat, yeah.
Right, it's +1 save, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're still really strong. Like, you gotta commit, like, a really strong, you know, probably 2 hammers to them to get rid of them. Like, I think there's still a problem.
Armies can do it now, though. And
yes, definitely.
in this spread style, the slow movement of the Trogs is going to be a liability.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. It's going to be a problem for sure. There's no. Last time I played them at a tournament, was on a mission, a very central mission, and it's much harder to deal with them, especially.
Well,
when
that's like their
them.
best case scenario is fighting somebody.
And they
in the middle.
can't, and they won't have that,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're definitely going to be harder for them to score well and be that threat that they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All-out defense nerf really hurts them because they used to just all-out defense, and then you could pour everything into a 3-up save battle war.
Yeah, that's very
true. That's
true.
not happening anymore.
Is the lack of honor guard good for them because nobody's less people are picking up anti-infantry to deal with them?
So much stuff has anti-infantry already.
It's true. It is pretty common. Yeah. Okay. Is there an obvious pivot for Gitz? Do they go into bounders? Or hoppers? Or
love
bounders?
Yeah, they're great.
And how good is that?
Jump around everywhere.
Is that, I don't know. I feel like that just gets killed before it can reliably connect most of the time. It's not fast enough. There's just way faster and they're flying, so they can't get obscured.
Right? It's just the speed is inconsistent. That's all. But when they roll high on it, like they get far. They can go far, and they do a lot of damage.
It doesn't feel A tier good to me. Like low B is where I'm thinking. If there's a pivot, pivot for Grot, I think it's a control style using the new subfaction that lets, if you have one model on objective, all the models in the unit are on the objective. Because you just tow in one little goblin, and it's like, there's 40 control right there. How you doing? You just can't hold objectives from them. And
you can string out weird blocks, weird pathways. So it's kind of interesting actually.
I think that's going to be an obnoxious list to play against, but I can see it being good. So
I don't have enough information. I would have to see what Michael Roche or one of these big Gitz players comes up with.
I'm thinking B or C. Gitz seem tactically limited. Stats don't seem up to par. There's better brawlers. Their tricks aren't that good anymore. And
they don't have good enough units to take advantage of Kragnos in the way that other destruction players do.
There could be some potential with the wolves. I've seen you can stack because one of them can get strike first, so you can charge in a pack of wolves and basically get a free combat, and they're fast, which fixes the problem that Trogs have. You can get a buttload of attacks on a reinforced unit of wolves. I think they can go up to 40 attacks at 2 damage. Or is that 2 different units? I think it's 20 attacks at 2 damage, and then you have 2 different units fight, so it ends up being 80 at 2 damage. Or 80 max.
The Rend 0. They're Rend 0, aren't they?
There's a sub-faction to fix that. You can make them Rend 1, which is something. There might be some play there.
Worth a lot more right now if you have a bunch of them, that's for sure.
They just put out volume.
I think that is viable.
12-inch move with volume. It can't be that bad.
You can only all out defense one of them.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, I think B tier. I'm not going to put him in C. So far it seems like the only bad army is Kharadron. But that sounds about right, I think. Ironjawz. So we actually don't have a symbol for Ironjawz here, but I think Ironjawz look very good. Pigs are back, baby. That's the tagline.
Pigs are back, baby.
Yeah,
pigs are back.
They're great.
I looked at Rob's list, I think, from what he played against us.
Mm-hmm.
And with the soggy pigs, he just drops that weird brood Rekka unit, and that list just gets better.
That list does a lot more damage. Those pigs are a lot more threatening than the old pigs. Yeah.
Yeah, the
old pigs were like a movement piece, right? They were tying stuff down and charging at the right times to score tactics. They weren't a hammer. Now they are also a hammer. They were doing what they were doing before, but they're a hammer now.
And it's 3-up save cavalry, dude. It's
with no anti-cav in the game anymore, basically.
Yeah, and it's and Kragnos just fixes Ironjawz so hard. It's just that list was a nightmare.
However, Kragnos just dies to shooting now. There's nothing he can do against shooting anymore.
But there was nothing he could do anyway. What are you talking about?
No, he could hide and obscuring before. He can't do that anymore.
That's true. People would
I see what
always
you're
start with
saying.
them in
Yeah,
obscuring.
yeah.
They would just
I forgot,
this,
yeah.
this is what Rob
Hold
did to me. He
everything
just
there.
teleported him into obscuring. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I know
the
you're
play
talking about.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So that just can't
Yeah,
happen
okay.
anymore. So Kragnos just dies. He is so weak to shooting that, and there's still, and like he's one of the reasons people will bring shooting. It's like, oh, gotta kill Kragnos.
But yeah, that the two big pigs army with the Gorgrunta is still good, and it just got better basically. So,
What's the sorry guys? What's the small change to the regular pigs? What did they do?
they buffed their damage, so both rider and mount get +1 damage on the charge.
Yeah.
And they gave them, I think,
And
like,
mount.
Yes, and they gave them like a Passover ability. I want to say, like,
Oh, wow! So they basically doubled the damage.
yeah,
like-
they doubled their damage.
It's like Revenant Seekers. Their ability, it basically doesn't matter. What matters is the higher damage output now.
Yeah,
Their,
that's
and their
great.
ability's
and
good
they
still in
gave,
Seekers, but yeah.
They gave the what is it called? There's like a sub faction where you take the mega boss on foot, you get 2 mighty destroyers as a
Mhm.
hero pigs.
Yep.
So, or if you don't, you get another one on the 3.
Pigs are also able to get
and-
obscuring, which is amazing.
Yes,
Which is
They
great,
added
yeah,
rend to the
exactly.
Gorgruntas. They added rend to the Gorgruntas, and they can just pass through infantry. So if you have a screen of like clan rats, they can just jump over it.
Right.
It's starting to feel like we might need chaff again.
Yeah.
Pigs are back in
And
town.
for those of you who like the brutes lists, the infantry heavy Ardboys list, for instance, they changed the other. So Bra brings the other Rekkas, but the chain flail ones, the 3-unit berserker unit, it basically has all out attack for 1 Ironjawz unit, wholly within 12 in the combat phase. So it's like a free all out attack for something.
All right, we're gonna pretend the Bone Splitters here. This is actually Ironjawz, guys, because I don't have an Ironjawz one. I'll add one for the next stream. So A tier, I agree. I think they can still play the movement trick game exactly as well as they could before, but now they have real damage in their list that isn't tied to 4-inch moves or whatever.
Mhm.
Gougers were scary too. Like they were doing enough damage to be a threat, but pigs just are volume and they're very good at it.
They also brought back monster traits for the big cabbage, and there's one of them that's like it gives it fast stun again.
Fast stun.
Where it can like
God.
move. Yeah, remember
Is
that?
the cabbage good though? It's only
Well, if it has
340.
fast-
I don't know.
I'm looking at fast stun. That's a monster trait, by the way. That is not
It
a
is,
normal
yep.
trait.
Yeah, it just stacks with everything.
Yeah, and then artifacts wise, I think you could give it +1 rend, and you could give it, I don't know, crit 2 hits maybe.
Wouldn't more pigs just be better?
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
you just give it more mortal wounds. You give it like hulking brute or something.
New Rekkas
And
are
people
pretty
have
cool
their
too.
people have their cabbages. They want to play them if they
They
can.
will play them.
Yeah, people like cabbages, and people really, 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 really liked fast stun in 3rd edition. So
And they get
Yeah,
to
exactly.
spread all out attack basically with the Rekkas now, right? Rekkas give +1 hit.
yeah.
So that's
And by the way, the
Yep.
other trait, Madon, that's way better than the hulking brute they have now because it's an unlimited rampage. If you
Yes.
can keep slaying models, you just keep doing D3. Or if you roll a 1, obviously it stops.
I don't think people are
It's
going
like-
to take it though, because there's armies that you won't activate it against, and that's just not worth it.
Yeah,
And,
but it's like a very fun.
Yeah,
fun
it's super
thing.
fun.
I think fast stun is I think the competitive choice.
Yeah.
I think like it activates the one of the chariot big pigs too. You know.
okay. So I think Ironjawz are A tier, and I also think Kruleboyz are A tier. The point changes have been tremendous. Like that's ridiculous how cheap. Like
Kruleboyz just every edition, just dirt
Yeah.
cheap. So,
Yeah. Kruleboyz, I think, are going into A tier. They have a very tricky control game that they can play, and I don't know if Kruleboyz are at the point where they can drop Kragnos and drop the pig Regiment of Renown. But when you play those together with the Kruleboyz army backing it, that is actually a really good list. Maybe not the best in the game.
Why would you drop Kragnos? I would always keep him around.
Yeah, I'm
He
saying
just
Yeah,
fixes
it's-
everything within
It's a
destruction.
good combo to
Yeah.
play that for sure.
If we had a monster that could consistently strike last, like
yeah,
Hell yeah.
it's possible that this army has gotten cheap enough that you don't have to play Kragnos anymore. That's what I'm getting at. That's also a possibility.
the other side of that coin is because the army got cheaper. They just fit in more shit.
They more stuff. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
Gut Rippas are scary. Giving that unit +1 attack is no joke, because on a 2-up strike last and they get +1 attack, it's like, that's a lot of crit mortals, man.
Bolt boys are 90 points for that kind of shooting. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Everything's just so cheap.
Long strikes.
Yeah, they've got some good tools for sure.
It's
even the kill bow. Like, people are gonna take monsters now, and the kill bow has always been a good shooter. Like, they're gonna take that.
The boss on Trog is now only 200, and he's always been pretty good. The Vulture is actually really good especially if you get that enhancement that lets it retreat on a 3-up at the start of the combat phase. I hate that thing. That's so annoying to play against. It looks like a better army. I'm gonna say lower end of A tier. I think Ironjawz are also on the lower end of A tier, just because Ironjawz, if they go the big pigs, they're leaning a lot more into the damage. Whereas I think what's really good about the Ironjawz is their positioning game. It's a very, very strong. It's like a Khorne light, and even Diet Khorne is still very good. It's a very good army. Okay, Ogor Mawtribes. Is the infantry stuff actually good now? Because that countercharge ability is wonderful. It is so good. So people are just going to pile meat onto the table.
Yes, I think the thing is, the main change is they can't get shot off the board anymore. And if you charge them, you will more than likely be fighting 2 units, because they just move. They can put something like, remember when we said Riposte is dead?
It's not back for this army. For this army, it's back. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, like, I could just have, like, whatever the main battle line unit is, the Meat Boys, I don't know what they're called, but then have some Iron Guts behind them, move them D6, now you're in combat with 2 units. And I will get to hit you with both. You don't have enough damage to kill.
Yeah. I think Ogres are going to warp the meta. They might not even be a very good army, but you will need to deal 48 damage to kill the reinforced Glutton blocks. You just have to.
Yeah.
If you can't wipe out a whole Glutton block, part of it survives, and they just start reviving models, it's not good.
Yeah. Plus, that cannon is good. It's a 1-up. Like, you don't take more than 1 because its abilities are 1-up. But I think, like, producing your charge rolls, I think you, as a tool set, like, previously they don't want Ogres to be a gun line. You could see that. But 1 cannon, I think, is good.
Yeah, it's like a crawler, but it's actually reasonably costed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Crawlers are just way too overcosted. It's like, a crawler that's reasonably costed. It can target a monster and say, okay, I'm reducing your charge. That's the Noblor Scrap Launcher.
Yeah.
So either one of their artillery pieces, is pretty good.
Yeah, Ogres look, honestly, like a C tier or B tier army. But they are going to warp the meta, because if you can't answer Ogres, they will just literally roll over you. They will just feast on everything on the table. But tactically, they don't look great. They can't really spread out very well. They're very slow. Like, when you get close to them, it gets dangerous. But outside of, 18 inches, they're not a threat. They're not charging you turn 1 or anything. Right? It's kind of like Nurgle, but they trade the defense for super high damage output.
The new Greedy Eaters, where they return, end of any turn, they return 1 model to each target unit. But I think the main thing comes from, like, that Mob Path Menaces, where they 3-up, they just charge.
Yeah, the counter charge. Yeah, that's really good. And if you can't, you have to wipe them out, because you're going to lose your unit on the clapback.
Yeah, and then the Scrap Launcher, I think, is reducing your charge dice, and then the Iron Blaster is just, like, getting crit 2 hits for its range weapons.
Yeah.
And Iron Blaster is, I think, 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, -2, 5 damage each.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stick Ogres in the B tier, although I do want to say they will have a meta warping effect.
Yeah.
Kind of like if Gargants, when Gargants came on the scene, it was like, oh, gotta kill Gargants, gotta be able to do 35 damage, or else they just win. So it's like that, but higher value. And then let's talk about Gargants, right? That's the last army. 0 changes. Can't benefit from obscuring. Battle plans are incredibly spread out. It's looking bad for Gargants, right? Like, they were a 3-2 army. I think this might tip them into 2-3 instead.
They can null deploy. That's cute.
Yeah, and
I hope they do. That gives me 15 victory points.
They got buffed in the end of last GHB. But yeah, it's the battle plans. They're gonna struggle with all that stuff, and I don't know what they're doing for tactics.
Yeah, I think that's why they got a null deploy Gargan, because they don't have the movement to just like cross the board in that fashion, without going through.
I don't think they can go null deploy because almost like most people are going to run interceptor and cover as one of their tactics just because it's so easy. Whether it's good or not, it's easy to understand. It's kill 3 things that my opponent picks. And if you're playing the null deploy, it's like, oh, you're just giving your opponent 15 VP.
Oh no, but by null deploy I mean like deploy like 1 or 2 of their Gargans that way, not the whole lot.
Oh, okay. Even then, that's still giving your opponent VP. If you deploy more than 1, you're giving them VP.
Sure. I could see a world where like they take Kragnos and they just deploy a Gargan from reserves and try a 3d6 charge or something.
Might be the way to go.
Actually, yeah. That's actually really interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
What other
Some lists I know are already
armies can
taking
deep strike with Kragnos on the table? I guess teleport.
Ironjawz can teleport. Ironjawz can teleport as well.
Right.
Ogres could deep strike. I don't know if ogres can deep strike, but they move far enough, so it doesn't matter.
But Kruleboyz could do it too. They have a teleport, right?
Yeah, those could definitely do it.
The biggest problem Gargants have is that there's so much damage in the season now. Sylvaneth have gone from a low damage army to a high damage army. Nighthaunt are going to be putting out a lot of damage because their rend is getting better, and everybody's going to be teching high damage anyway because of ogres, and Sons of Behemat are going to get caught in the crossfire. Like, you can't play a low damage army this season, and that's what Sons were kind of hoping for, is that your damage is not killing a Gargant every single turn. That's just going to happen.
And the other main problem is, like, when I played armies like Fyreslayers, or if you played something like Seraphon, you almost always have to rely on stuff like 6 Kroxigor, 6 Agrodons, Heartguard Berserkers fighting with a Grimrat Berserker to try and kill them, and you would always lose models and lose damage. But all these armies now have a lot more powerful single model options, so you don't feel bad putting that into a Gargant and just like a Carnosaur could, with max damage at least, take out a Gargant.
Pretty reliably, actually. Like, Andrasta max damage kills a Gargant. Carnosaur does it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
How
could do it.
How bad would it be for them to tech into like the baby giants?
Not bad at all. I think they need to.
Because it's kind of like MSU in a way.
Yeah. No, they should.
Either that or the Big Pig Regiment. I think that might actually help them more.
I could see that too.
Big Pig and baby giants running around.
It's gonna be a season of Regiment of Renown for them, for sure. Because like Kruleboyz, they need other units from other armies to offset their horrible weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the only C tier armies we have are Sons and Kharadron, and then everything else is B tier or A tier. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Sounds like a great game we're talking about right now.
We'll see what ends up being overpowered, right? Like, that's gosh, I hope it's not Stormcast. I hope we don't get nerfed. But Recycling Dragons is so good.
It might be cities that sold like before. I think War Dragon is definitely very, very, very good.
There's
if anything,
there's a lot of potential. A lot of potential for S tier with all these wacky new rules.
Yes. It's good. I mean, I don't like having 3 armies at the top. Like we were talking about, ideally every army should be in like A and B if we can have it. And we're getting closer and closer to that. If you looked at the Honest Wargamer distribution charts, most armies are within like 48 through 57. There's only like 2 armies that are like outside it, 2 or 3 armies that are outside it right now. And that's pre-GHB. So I mean, that's a good place to be, actually.
One thing the team's been really good at Games Workshop since Matt Rose got on is getting everything into an acceptable, like, they're really good at tweaking for balance change purposes, right?
Yes.
And like 3rd edition, they were very good at win rates, and they've continued that success. And then this edition, they've been really good at taking big risks on units. Like, oh, this unit sucks, cut 50 points off it. We'll see if it still sucks, right? Like, they're willing to do that. It's none of this pussyfooting around with -10 here, -10 there, and we'll see in a couple years. Oops, there's a new edition, and we're raising all the points again. Ha ha ha. No, none of that. They are willing to just take big chunks off models. Lord Vigilant was 270 points when he launched. I think he may have been even more expensive. They've already knocked 50 points off that model. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Tornus went down 50.
Gristalker started at 200. He's 150.
They have dropped 50 points off so many heroes, and I love to see it. I hope we keep seeing more, but in every army, to be clear, not just Stormcast, because I want a world where every unit's playable.
They're very good at targeted changes. Like they like to know what people are playing, and they like to know when people are not playing and why they're not playing them.
Yeah.
Even the soggy changes, like they're mostly all been bangers.
There's some stinkers, but mostly great. Yeah. Like I'm not very excited about the ogre cannon, right? Like I'm whatever. But the scrap launcher is kind of cool, right? The one of, but there's the spell lore in Lumineth is kind of meh. I don't know. There's some good stuff it's mostly good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the wins are huge. Like Krethissa is awesome. I'm glad she's finally playable. The new shark stuff for Idoneth is fantastic. Iridan is great. I don't think a single war scroll has been improved as much as like pre-Sog War Iridan to new Iridan. Like that has to be the biggest jump I've ever seen in the quality of a unit. It's crazy.
I like how they share no abilities at all. Like they're not even like remotely.
Not even the same name.
They're not even not even the same attack profiles or whatever. Like because we got 3 damage finally on the X.
The story of the unit is just different. Before it was prayer of the witness or something. Now it's demand of the witness. Go kill that thing. You know, like the gameplay story has completely changed.
Witness me, like the scene.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this season. I think it looks if nothing else, hey, it's different. Right? Like 4th edition had gotten pretty stale by the end of that season. But this is exciting. And I hope it's wacky, I hope it's fun. Yeah, more than anything else, I hope it's fun. Balance is it can be balanced or not. I could take balance, you know, as long as it's fun.
I could take balance later. I want a fun season. Yeah. Because like the next Battlescroll is in September. If there's something out of whack, I'm sure they'll tune it down. Like it's fun.
Yeah. I think they'll take a bigger swing in September. Like there's almost no nerfs in here. Just enhancements cost more points, right? There's 0 point nerfs to units. So, and they probably have a ton of data on stuff they've been waiting to nerf, and they're probably going to nerf it in September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Night Judicator, after people start running 3 or 4 of them, they're going to go up.
Shut up.
It's not.
If you tell people, they'll know.
Cut it.
It's a good place to end the stream, right? Don't nerf Stormcast, please. I like my overpowered dragons that can't be killed. It's going to be great. It's going to be a terrible season for everyone else, but for Storm Drake enjoyers, it's going to be fantastic.
That's how I like it.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Gonna play them tomorrow.
Nice. Yeah, write up a battle report.
It'll be on Season of War.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. I'll make sure to watch
that. Oh, heck yeah, dude. I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'll post it on the server.
Sick. Okay, I think that'll do it from us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We had a nice, tight 4-hour stream. Good job, team. Oh, well. It's fun to talk about this stuff with you guys. So, yeah, look forward to a lot more content coming on the Stormkeep Discord and also on the podcast as well. We've brought some awesome new people on board, and I'm excited to show you guys what we've been working on. So, from all of us, thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you in the next one. Make sure you press the like button. I always forget. Press the like button.
Please push the like button. Please.
All right. Good night, everyone.